Yeah, give me the Surgeon Sparks. What?
Which one do you want?
Nah, just dealer's choice. Just take anyone. Hey, babe, just a heads up. I'm gonna be live right now. So, but no. Yeah. So dill pickle, sunflower seeds, and then just choose 3 from the back.
3 from the back.
Yeah. All right, babe. Love you, babe. Bye.
Do you have a executor?
Latios. Yeah.
And who else?
That's it. Just get 1 or 2, depending on what the price is. Don't go crazy. All right, babe. Love you. Bye.
All right, love you.
Yo, what's cracking like, fellas? Yo, man, El Pachuco, is that comment still pinned here, bro? You're funny, bro. You're a funny guy, man. And the Mexican boxing #1, as always, bro, with the repetitive, tedious comments. You guys are too funny, man. Can I click on these? Look, as we have known for quite some time, there's been a rivalry brewing for Golden Boy and Eddie Hearn. And honestly, man, these guys are best friends. And the way I look at it, as we stand now in the test of time, right? Eddie Hearn, he takes these things kind of with joy, with humor, right? He's got the UK humor. And Oscar De La Hoya overall isn't really known as a jokester. He's a party goer. This guy likes to party and, be in his tidy whities, He's uncle status. But Eddie Hearn, he understands humor. But when it comes down to Golden Boy and Oscar De La Hoya, who I have a lot of respect for, obviously, but he has mean intentions, especially behind his clapback Thursdays, right? Which are hilarious. But they're not there just to have fun. Anybody says that, oh, well, these are just the facts. You're just trying to be a smartass. You get what I'm saying? You're not really trying to have and open up a line of conversations, right? Like Oscar De La Hoya is one of those guys. Eddie Hearn, he's more comical. He's more accepting to criticism, right? And you can tell because when he first started on IFL TV and doing these comical interviews, this dude was mocking guys like Richard Schaefer. He had this videos of impressions, right? And I think I can probably put it up. Hold on. Give me a second. I will put Eddie Hearn impressions. And he's having this impersonations. Let me see. Go to present, share screen. All right, here we go. I'm going to hide this little part right here. Eddie Hearn impressions, right? Come on, man.
Bet every week with Offer Club from William Hill. Simply stake a total of £20 or more across the week on pre-match football accumulators with 4 on William Hill. Listen, I did Richard Schaefer once. I don't think he went down very well. So, no, he saw it and I'm hoping he was impressed to get it home. Do show here we are. Get ready for the show this weekend. Get your popcorn ready. We have some great undercard action in the chief support event. We have our big prospect. He's 24-0. He is facing off in the toughest fight of his career against his opponent, who is 3-16. Get your popcorn ready. Sorry, Richard. I know you're coming back in boxing, so don't kick my ass when you return.
So long story short, man, when I look at Eddie Hearn and he does his impressions, the guy's very comical, right? He's got good humor, or it's humorous, right? There's no like evil intentions behind his impressions. But guys like Shelly Finkel, Richard Schaefer, and company, they really took it to heart. When Golden Boy does his clapback Thursdays, he's trying to be a smartass, right? He's trying to it's like there's a movie called the coon that sat by the door or something like that. That's Golden Boy, where he's trying to reveal certain people's secrets, certain people's agendas, and never reveal his own. Anyway, so when you have his clapback Thursdays, Oscar De La Hoya has a lot of like malice behind his words, and you can tell the difference between comedy and him trying to reveal or spill like other people's kind of like ruin other people's reputation when he started talking about some rumor allegations between Eddie Hearn and that female boxer that's boring as hell, Sky Nicholson. Get what I'm saying? Anyway, so there's this rivalry brewing between Oscar de La Hoya and Eddie Hearn. And each are approaching, I guess you can say, their build up in terms of their 5 versus 5 situation, rating this rivalry that's been brewing up, kind of like Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren. Eddie Hearn just wants to stir up the pot with every single person because it's all promotion and whatnot. Eddie Hearn has done a great job being a promoter and just promoting his brand and his company more so than promoting any certain boxer. Like if we really talk about right now, Eddie Hearn will stand the test of time until he says that he's burnt out from the sport. But guys like Anthony Joshua, who are the ones, because of their cohesiveness, right? Their working relationship between Eddie and Anthony. Anthony pretty much is in the back burner of his career. And Eddie Hearn is, you can essentially say, it's barely starting. And that's the difference between a fighter and a promoter, is that if the promoter does his job properly, like Eddie Hearn has, he's going to have longevity. And you know, athletes or competing athletes that have a little bit of a window, at max maybe 3 good years. Now, there's some anomalies like Oscar, Shane Mosley, Pacquiao, you know, these fight Floyd that can have 10, 15 years of dominance. That's not really realistic in the sport of boxing, right? But shout out to El Pachuco, man. The homie Ricky's still mad that Vergil didn't take a picture with him. He was taking the leak, Ricky. Come on, man. Cut him some slack. Bro, you guys are funny, bro. You guys are too funny. The Mexican G goes, man, Vergil ain't losing. He's going to whoop that trick. Typo. What I meant is to say that Vergil is not losing. Madrimov ain't nobody. He's a chump. He's a stepping stone. He's a bum. Oh, man, dude. Hey, I hear you, bro. Look, listen. Be careful, man. Be careful, because when you guys were so highly bent on Vergil Ortiz, Sergey Bohachuk dropped him twice. Or was it once? I forgot. I think we talked about the video, and you're like, oh, that's not a knockdown. Or maybe he dropped him 3 times and 2 counted. I forgot. I have to really go watch back the fight. But that's Bohachuk. And maybe to your guys' credit, maybe Vergil Ortiz is very good. I've yet to see it. But to be fair, him knocking out Mean Machine and him beating Sergey Bohachuk, you know, on paper, because I thought Bohachuk, as the interim champion, dropped Vergil, and he defended his status well. But be that as it may, we knew that Bohachuk had to do a little extra, and I thought that he did enough. If we talk about robberies, that was more of a robbery than Lomachenko beating Devin Haney. Like, you know what I'm saying? And Vergil was dropped twice as a challenger. So, but anyway, Madrimov, bro, I'm telling you, Joel Diaz, bro, that dude is a smart fox, bro. That dude is super intelligent. He knows the craft. He's a great trainer, very studious, and he knows when people are trying to finesse his fighters. Saludos at Pachuco. And he knows when he's trying, and they know when he's people, the promotional companies and managers, based on scheduling, he knows when they're trying to shaft his fighters. And he told Madrimov, watch yourself, bro. Get out of this Bohachuk fight. Because they're going to try to play you a little bit with this Vergil turnaround. Just cancel on Bohachuk and then come fight Vergil. You don't even know if your faculties are going to get intact, head class, all of these things. So again, Oscar is very smart when it comes down to these negotiations. And shout out to Vergil, bro, because last year he had 2 fake fights, 1st round stoppages, and these dudes weren't really that hurt. And yeah, you know what you guys already back there? What's going on? Mic check real quick right there, player. Drew,
Yo,
1, 2, 3. Speed.
What's up?
1, 2, 3.
What's up, player Himalaya?
player Himalaya. El Pachuco goes, saludos to you, brother. Mexican G goes, that was a slip, ese. Come on, you rocked that white boy several times. Vergil had him stumbling. He did. He did. El Pachuco says, I had Vergil beating Sergey Bohachuk. As usual, great body work. Doesn't get the credit it deserves. I agree.
Yeah, that's true. That's so true.
I will say this, man. To Vergil Ortiz's credit, old boy had 2 fake fights, first round stoppages, and then I felt like it wasn't enough. To be fair, I thought Bohachuk was going to knock him out because I was like, I don't know if Vergil is tough enough to sustain that type of level of punishment that guys like Brian Mendoza could sustain. Right? You saw the valiant effort that he had against Tim Tszyu. And you saw that the beating that Sebastian Fundora was imposing on Brian Mendoza, right? From Los Cruces. No, I think it was like New Mexico. And then you saw Bohachuk impose his will on Brian Mendoza. And I'm thinking, I don't know if Vergil's capable of doing that stuff. Well, he was. And it's not that I haven't seen it in the past. It was just more that those 2 fake fights, that first round stoppages, is like, bro, you do know, guys, that Vergil had rambiosis. He's trying to get back, and he needs the rounds. He needs to test his stamina and all of these things. And he proved me wrong. From that standpoint, I was like, damn, Vergil, I know you're a badass dude, but this even solidified it even more so that, bro, you have all the makings of a great champion. Now, let me see if, you can follow it up. And he didn't disappoint. He goes, I'm not fighting that young kid from Puerto Rico or New York, right? Xander Zayas. I'm going straight to Madrimov, who had an amazing performance. Again, in my opinion, also thought he beat Bud Crawford. As the champions, these guys defended well. And I'm like, Joel Diaz is the reasoning why behind all of these things. Manny Robles is the reason why Bohachuk is as good as he is, because these guys are studious. They've been around the block. They know the game. They know the managerial aspect of it. And he's a God-fearing man. And when you have God on your side, then who really cares who's standing behind you and against you? But the Mexican G goes, but I get your point. It was close. It should have been a draw in my opinion. Neither fighter was dominant enough. Speed, Drew, how do you guys see this? Before we get into Eddie Hearn versus Golden Boys 5 versus 5 or the potential making of it, we already know these things are happening, right? But before we get into that 5 versus 5, I'm gonna ask you guys this: if Oscar de La Hoya loses in this particular case, if Vergil were to lose to Israel Madrimov, if Floyd Schofield were to lose to Shakur Stevenson, you know this is gonna hurt Oscar de La Hoya's ego. Like he might even pull out of the 5 versus 5, because somebody might even say, "You don't got no fighters left." Well, I mean, do you think Oscar can handle the losses if these fighters were to lose? Because Vergil can beat Madrimov. I'm not saying it's not a 50-50. I would say 65-35 in favor of Madrimov. Maybe I'm tripping. Maybe it's the other way. You guys see it the other way. Same thing with Floyd Schofield. Schofield's got some momentum. Shakur's coming off hand surgery over a year of inactivity. So maybe Golden Boys fighters have the momentum that Eddie Hearn's fighters don't. How do you guys see this stuff?
Go ahead, Speed. Okay, fine. I'll go. But what's it called? Yeah, man. I the only way I see Golden Boy and Matchroom going at it 5v5 is if it's they're getting like a payday, obviously, and I think Oscar's not gonna take the chance on a 5v5 like on some like random shit, like it's got to be for titles on the line. It's got to be, I think he should build Vergil from what I think Vergil can get tested. Is just he's got to give me more tune-ups and be more active for me. When was his last fight? August, right? I believe against Bohachuk.
Well, he fought 3-4 times last year, so
okay.
Now Oscar has kept Vergil active in his more biggest fight. Yeah, it was probably like around October, August, September-ish.
Yeah, so I think they gotta choose wisely, just because I don't know. I think there's still a lot of threats. He's a 168 pounder or a 160 pounder.
Who?
Vergil.
Nah, he's a 154 pounder.
Okay. See, and there's that one dude that beat fucking Tim Tszyu. I can't pronounce his name still, but
Martin Murtasaliev, no?
Yeah, him. I think he's a threat. I think he's a threat. I think if he can beat Tim Tszyu up like that, man, I can see him doing the same thing to Vergil. you know. So I don't know. I think they gotta choose carefully, and and Virgil gotta make sure he makes weight. You know, I know this is probably since he fought 3 times, that says that he's making weight comfortably, and he's you know, this is his you know, his actual normal weight. You know, this is what he should be at. You know, so uh yeah, dude, I don't know, 154. You also got you know, what's that one dude's name? Um I can't think of his name right now. Not Richard Kami. Fuck. I compare him to Smoking Joe a lot. But it'll come back to me. But there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of threat at 154, bro. Like there's a lot of smoke, bro. And Virgil just got to be careful, man. It just, I don't know. It got to be for a payday, like I said. Oh, where'd he go? All right, but yeah, man. Um, so we'll
You
see, man.
always get nervous, bro. You always get nervous when the homie Ricky disappears. You start choking, bro.
Nah,
It's okay,
I
bro.
ran out of, no, I ran out of shit to say. It's just like I just barely got here, you know. So I think I'm trying to think like, you know, his career, like what he's been up to lately. You know, I haven't really heard of any fights. He's, you know, any discussions. Um, you know, I haven't really heard anything like that. So we'll see, man. I heard he was gonna fight Virgil, but I mean not Virgil, Duran.
But
So
Dennis,
yeah, so I don't think that's gonna happen. So it's really competitive, bro, and he's got to choose
very
carefully, man.
competitive.
He's got to choose carefully just because Bohachuk isn't really like the best at 154 pounder, bro. Like he's up there, but he's not up there with the elites. He's very beatable. You know, he just has a come forward style, and I think there's a lot of guys that can actually, you know, beat a Bohachuk. He's still a tough fight, um, you know, but I think I don't think he's the best 154 pounder, honestly. He's
Didn't
just, he's just not dominating like he used to in the lower weights, obviously. You know,
who
I like
Sergey?
no. Virgil's not dominating like he used to
Yeah.
at 154. You know, he's more like he's meeting his matches, you know, and he met 3 solid matches, you know, and he's used to dominating, you know. And he doesn't have a knockout or like a perfect knockout ratio anymore. So, you know, he's back to normal. You know, he doesn't have that scary power now. Now he looks more human. You know, so
Well, Sergey
I don't.
Bohachuk, man, it's a tough opponent
Yeah,
for anybody. I mean,
he
the
is,
guy
but
almost had 100% knockout ratio. If I'm not mistaken, he has like around a 94. You know,
he,
so
yeah, he is. But the first 2 opponents, were kind of like, I don't know. They're cherry pick fights, bro. Like, I forget one of the other guys' name, bro. Like, his one of his opponents went down with a body shot. It just, I don't know. It just looked like he gave up right away. Like he got knocked. He went down in the first round and just called it quits. And I was just like, man, that wasn't even like a real fight. You know, like that was like a quick sparring session. You know, like it's ridiculous. So, and there was another fight, and I don't know who he fought, you know, so fill me in right there because I
so
can only
there's
think
he fought Ishmael Davis, Vergil Ortiz, Brian Mendoza, Patrick Alote,
no this year.
Daniel Gallimore, and he lost to Brandon Adams.
No. I'm talking about Virgil.
Oh yeah. So how far do you want to go back? Cause
Just this
he
year,
fought
last year.
well right before Sergey. He fought Delorme and Frederick Lawson, and of course Michael McKinson. Michael McKinson was still a 147-pound fighter, and then he ended up going through you know those that whole Rambo biomyolysis thingy, right? Right after Frederick Lawson, after McKinson, if I'm not mistaken, and then that's when he had to fight Frederick Lawson and Thomas Delorme, which were like, like homie Ricky said, just non-fights or whatever, right? But yeah, no, I mean, look. The question that homie Ricky was asking, whether this 5v5 between Matchroom and Golden Boy takes place, and if the rumored fighters are pit the way that they do, if this is going to be a devastating blow to Oscar de la Hoya's Golden Boy stable. And the thing is this, without a doubt, of course, it would be, because Oscar de la Hoya does not have the financial resource. He does not have the wherewithal in order to build up a stable from the ground up fast enough to really lose those kind of fighters that have the potential to be stars, right? Like for example, in Vergil Ortiz, we have a Tejano, we have a very feisty Tejano, right? A person that will of course have the backup of the Mexican American, the Texan, and in general the American fighting base, the people that like the come forward aggressors. They're always gonna be in favor of somebody like Vergil Ortiz, right? But if he starts displaying vulnerabilities and the type of fan base that we currently have in the sport of boxing, where we really like to discard our fighters and not give them second chances. Like for example, right now that we were talking about how he got dropped twice, now all of a sudden we're asking whether or not he's chinny. When we start looking at the world of boxing in that way, where we start discarding our fighters and thinking that they're out the door with one loss, yeah, if Golden Boys fighters take a loss right there, if Floyd Schofield, Kid Austin, loses to Shakur Stevens, and then maybe let's say that Darius Fulgham, he loses to, I don't know, to whatever super middleweight Eddie Hearn decides to pit him up against, yeah, that could be a devastating blow to Oscar de la Hoya. But here's the thing, though, Dream, they didn't really affect Eddie Hearn when he lost the 5v5, right? I mean, without a doubt, it helps that that Eddie Hearn has multi-millions. Like he has the support of a Russian, and he has the support of the whole the Zone platform, and he's had it for years. Of course, he can afford to take losses. In the case of Oscar de la Hoya, not so much. But here's the thing, though: if you've been following what Oscar de la Hoya has been telling his fighters for many years now, including Zurdo Ramirez, and we have Scrappy Zurdo and Scrappy Ramirez. Oh wait, yeah, he's been telling them, we need you to entertain the fan base. You're only gonna get better and you're only gonna get more famous if you put on exciting fights. And what happened as soon as he told them that, all of a sudden they go and lose, right? And they're still around. Look at Scrappy Ramirez. That guy was one of the standout performances in my case, in my opinion, of last year, right? Especially after having overcome a loss, he ends up fighting another undefeated fighter, a four-time national American fighter who was undefeated and slightly younger than him. He goes over there and he just embarrasses the kid. Look at Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez, what he's been able to do at a cruiserweight right after being defeated and utterly embarrassed at the hands of Dimitri Bivol. I think Oscar de la Hoya is onto something. He's gambling with the careers of his fighters in the hopes that we, as a fan base, appreciate that type of action. And I believe it's paying off. I think we really are starting to gravitate to that kind of fighter that is willing to lose in order to get better and fight another day. So I think I think Oscar de la Hoya will be all right.
Mhm.
In fact, he has to win though, because if he wins, I'm sure Turkey will trust his matchmaking. I'm sure Turkey will trust his skill to look at upcoming talent and sign him. So it's very important. But at the same time, I think Oscar De La Hoya is willing enough to and daring enough to risk some of these fighters in order to just make good, exciting fights.
Yeah, no, he has to be willing to risk it all, dude. Honestly, I'm reading the title right now. That's all I was like, oh shit, Virgil. Okay, so Virgil versus Madrimov, bro. Madrimov beats Virgil, bro, and it's just one of those things that Virgil was just at his peak at 147. You know, so it's just I got to see more of Virgil, man. It's hard for me to like give him like a solid opinion just because right now he's got to prove it to me, you know,
Mhm.
and I could be wrong about all this. Um, that dude's name I was thinking about, this prospect I was thinking about was Conwell. Conwell, from
Ah,
yeah, he's fucking
yeah.
good, bro. He's
What's his
sorry,
name?
yeah, Conwell and Richard Conwell. Nah, I'm wrong. But yeah, Conwell, that's his last name, and he's a beast, bro. He reminds me of Smoking Joe, you know, like Joe Frazier, bro. He's fucking. He has this like, I keep cussing, but he has this like bob and weave style, and he's actually like a highly decorated amateur, you know, and he's fought all over the world. That dude is a threat to Virgil, you know, and he's in the zone stable, you know. So yeah, dude, I
Dude, I
think
have to watch that guy. I don't know
yeah,
if I've seen
you know what
him.
I'm talking about.
The, the name, the name does resonate, but I just can't picture the face with him right now.
Yeah, yeah, no, he has a very like rugged like look, you know. He doesn't really like get cut up a lot, you know. He doesn't like get scraped up, you know, like at all, bro. Like he's usually like clean in all of his fights, and that's because his bob and weave style and the way he tucks his chin in. It's really like it's really hard to hit, you know. And he's 154. He's a solid fighter, bro. So um like I like Virgil because
Mhm.
he's actually with the solid um you know, with the solid you know, coach in Robert Garcia. Is just, yeah, lately he just got to prove it to me, man. There's no fights that are like in talks. I'm surprised he's not even in that last crescenda undercard, you know. So I'm just like, okay, he's got to like, yeah, like I said, he's got to prove it to me. There's still fights to be made as well at 154. So, you know, you got Madrimov. I don't think he would fight over Virgil right now. I think he would fight a Bohachuk right now. I thought I thought that's what I heard. You know,
Wow.
I thought I heard Israel Madrimov was in talks with Bohachuk. You know, so I don't know. I might be wrong.
Yeah, I think homie. Yeah, in fact, that was the strangest thing. He was in talks to fight both Virgil Ortiz and Bohachuk, if I'm not mistaken, back to back, and that's what Turkey Al Sheikh had already planned for Israel Madrimov. So it's crazy, right? It's crazy how Turkey was planning so far ahead the career of somebody like Madrimov, right? And that just sounds very questionable, very fishy to think that you can tell him who he's going to fight without even having overcome the fight that's before him. So I think that's the reason why one of the fights fell off, right? But let's read a couple of these comments right here. The Mexican G says it's an 80-20 fight for Virgil. I guess he has Ortiz taking on that fighter. I think he has,
Mm.
Virgil beating that fight. So maybe, hey, we're about to find out, right? El Pachuco says Bohochuk and Murtasaliev are the weight bullies of the 154 division. They're big for the division. Yeah, I think Sergey Bohochuk is 6'1".
Is he?
Yeah, he's a tall boy.
Uh,
He's pretty tall. As far
really?
as yeah, if you want, you
Let me
can.
see.
Let me see.
I'm
Uh,
looking it up right now. But yeah, no, he's. I know he's tall though. You know, I
yeah,
know he's
because
tall, and he's
Virgil Ortiz is 5'10". Virgil Ortiz is
mm,
5'10". Let me see. I'm looking right here. Boha Chuck is 6 feet
yeah.
exactly. 29 years of age, six
Ah,
feet.
dude, I'm
That's
wrong. I'm totally wrong, bro. Dude, I'm tripping, dude. I'm totally
and
wrong.
look at
See,
it.
this is how
Look at
much I've been.
this, Mo. Check
No,
this
dude,
out.
I just realized
Huh?
something. I just
What's
realized
that?
that he is in the last. Virgil Ortiz is in the last crescendo card. That's why. Why don't you guys tell me in the comments, man? You guys didn't catch that, you know? Um, um,
Yeah.
so yeah, he's fighting in the
And
last
check
crescendo on the
this out.
card,
Check
which is
this out.
dumb on my part. Go ahead.
Israel Madrimov is only 5'8".
Yeah, he's a short guy.
Yeah, no, I know because he was the same height as Terence Bud Crawford. But imagine
Mm,
Madrimov fighting somebody like Bohachuk, right? Imagine the height differential. I'm not saying he's not talented enough to overcome that, but That's a tall order. That's a tall ask, right?
Mhm.
Let's see the height of what's his name? Murkram
Of who?
Bartasalia. Bakram, I mean
Oh, Bakram.
Bakram
Oh, that's right. That's his name.
Bartasalia.
I think
Bakram.
that's easier to say. You know.
He's pretty tall, 5'11 and a half. So he's a little taller than Vergil Ortiz, right? Yeah, so I guess they really are tall, big, muscular individuals at Pachuco. Um, he says 154 is very competitive. Mexican boxing number one says we know who you guys go for. Madrimov, bunch of race traders. Virgil, the best. Clowns, shut your mouth. You're scary. Go self back to normal. I'm not too sure what, what Mexican boxing number one is on, but lights out Sal. It says Crawford did not dominate at 154 either. Good even for the user. Pachuco
Mm.
says Madrimov beating Crawford 7-5. Yeah, I think I had it. Madrimov 7-5. Maybe push come to shove a draw, but it did have Madrimov winning. In my opinion, I could see a draw, but I could not see a Terence Crawford winning convincingly. But I could definitely see Madrimov winning much more convincingly, right? Chico
Yeah.
Lucio, good even for the user, Mexican boxing number one. Are you in Mex yet? I told your ass to go back to Mex. Lights out. I don't know. Lights out Celsius. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know what these guys are on, but they're definitely
Yeah.
having a little tip for tab between each
I
other.
know.
Madrimov was too concentrated on not getting hit. Even he was getting hit. Yeah. I'm
Hmm.
Team Oscar de La Hoya 100%. Yeah, you know what, Pachuco? Yeah, I'm Team. Wait, let's talk about that, Dream.
Yeah.
Are you
What do you
Team
say?
Oscar? He says
Oh,
he's Team Oscar 100%. Are you Team Oscar or are you Team Eddie Hearn?
I'm more Oscar. I'm not gonna lie.
Any
Just
particular
because.
reason?
I mean, as of lately, I
Mhm.
mean, just because growing up as a kid, I pretty much known this guy's name all my life, you
True.
know. And I remembered like as a kid just sitting down, going to in-laws like party and and just watching this guy fight like Trinidad and stuff like that. I remember that, and so he used to bring the people out, like all the Mexican parties just on a Saturday. Like he used to do what Mayweather did, and but not at a lower scale, obviously, and as far as like the money and all that. But yeah, dude. So I'm Team Oscar, bro. And honestly, like I remember seeing all that drama with his lingerie, or I don't know what the fuck he was wearing, but he was wearing all that shit. So to me, he's managed to kind of erase it, or like he's owned up to it, and I think that's helped his image a lot, and he's now he's like in a fucking tanga now, and he's like, and he's proud of it, so, and honestly, like, it's all right because he's with the wife now, that's actually like bringing out the best in him, and he's actually like,
What?
yeah,
What do
dude,
you mean he's bringing out the best of them?
when has Oscar been this like in a good mood?
Happy?
Happy. Yeah, when has he been this happy? He hasn't been this happy since he's been with that chick, bro. Like that's pretty much why he's so damn happy. And it's like, all right, and it's like, why hate? Like it's like you, like, I don't know. The whole thong thing is like, it's none of my business. I don't even like. I'm not personally like gonna wear something like that ever in my life. But it's his choice, and it's like it's whatever's. But
Look, so Oscar de la Hoya does definitely seem much more content and in a happier place in his life. But I remember when he hooked up with this girl, his I guess you called her a wife. Um,
who?
when he hooked up with her initially, man, those were to me they were a little bit scary days because they looked really coked out of their head. Like they really looked like they were on drugs. They really looked like I don't give a rat's behind. Right. That's when I think Oscar started to embrace that. What I was gonna say inner freak, but now it's really more like an outer freak because he's really just letting it all out. Right. Um, I think they complement each other because they both may be in the same kind of circles, the same kind of things, which, if the rumors are correct, they're not always necessarily good, sober, clean activities that Oscar likes to partake in. But nonetheless, if he's happy, that's perfectly fine. The only reason why I'm thinking I may be Team Eddie, and here it
Mm.
is. I'm sure
Why?
Mexican boxing number one is gonna chew me out for this to say that I'm a traitor
Uh, hold on,
to the
guys.
Rasta.
Go ahead.
It's because it's unfortunate because it's a negative feedback cycle, right? But it's because Eddie Hearn has provided me much better entertainment, um, not only in volume, but also because of the excitement, the memories. In the case of Eddie Hearn over what Oscar de La Hoya has been providing me in the past few years, right? We've had more upsets, we've had more underdogs, more new faces presented to us under Eddie Hearn's tutelage, under Eddie Hearn's auspices. So I think that's the reason why I like it. Now, of course, I understand that we're playing with a different. They're playing in a different field, right? Because Oscar De La Hoya, again, we just talked about how he has limited resources, and in the case of Mr. Eddie Hearn, he comes from wealth. He obviously has more uh, finances to invest in, prospects and potential fighters and great fights and things of that sort. But it is unfortunate, but it is a reality of the things that, in my opinion, I think we've seen the better quality, more entertaining and surprising fights under Eddie Hearn than we have under Oscar De La Hoya. And in fact, a lot of the accusations that people have had on Oscar De La Hoya, and testament to that would be Jaime Munguia having been defeated by a Frenchman, is that he has maneuvered his only fighters, his careers, in a way that is very cautious conscience, right?
Mhm.
He is managing their careers, always setting them up in fights with their best of interest and especially with the best outcome for him. Now we
Yeah.
can say, well, that's what a promoter is supposed to do, but at the same time, right? We have fighters like Jaime Munguia that have 40 and 0 records, and people say, who has they fought? It seems like to me, Oscar De La Hoya has a lot of fighters that we always ask, who has he fought?
Mhm. Yeah, and it's I don't know. For me, it's like I feel like you can judge a promoter more, like because their job is not. It's not. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's and there's a lot of responsibility being a fucking a promoter, you know. So props to them, but I don't know. Eddie dating his own like employees and shit. That's a bad look, man. You know, you 6'5", bro. You 6'5", you can't get at a chick at a bar. You can't go, you gotta mess with
Yeah.
your own employees at Sky Nicholson. It's like, man, that's some simp shit, bro. Like, honestly, like that's a bad look. Like to me, chicks probably like, I don't know, 12, 15 years younger than you. It's like, bro, get it together. Like I kind of looking like
Oh
I
my God.
but I don't know. I feel like I'm, judging a little much, but I do respect his honesty. I like his
Yeah.
honesty because I've seen him keep it real with fighters that he thought was good and say he's just not good enough, you know?
Whoa, 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 whoa. Wait. Before we go there, all right, before we go there, we have a lot of gentlemen right here. I'm going to ask a question. Okay. Mr.
What?
Eddie Hearn is about 45 years of age. Sky Noikosin, she's about 28, right? Um, that's like 17-year differential.
Hey,
All
that's some
right.
simp shit, huh, homie Ricky? That's some
Whoa, whoa,
simp
whoa,
shit.
whoa, 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 whoa. So I'll ask you, gentlemen. I'll ask you, if you guys were the same age as Mr. Eddie Hearn, right? Good-looking, tall, athletic individual that runs the careers of so many fighters. He lives in a mansion, right? And people bow down to you. People rely on you to make their careers, their livelihoods. And then here comes a fighter, right? The likes of Miss Guy Nicholson, very beautiful lady, by the way, right? She comes over here and she starts, doing the little Bambi eyes at you and just like, tapping you in the shoulder, like, oh, you. She starts doing those kind of things, right?
Yeah.
If you're 45 and she's 30, are you gonna make a move? Or is that like this guy says,
Yeah.
or is that
Oh,
improper? Because I'm 45. If I could put myself up a 30-year-old, I'll take
hey,
it.
oh, hey, man, you're come on, guy. No, I'm just kidding. But you know, I don't know. It's just more. It's more like the principle. Like you are dating your own coworker. This is a chick you're supposed to be promoting. Like you now, there's now what if she loses, and you still keep her around, and she keeps losing, you keep her around? It's gonna be like, dude, it's gonna look suspicious. Him and Maddox or Mannix. No, I'm just kidding. He's actually a different story. I'm hating right there. Because he's actually in the zone and he's dating Estrada, who actually retired. Sinisa Estrada. But
It's
anyway,
Ines Estrada.
yeah. Anyways, Eddie, you dating your own coworker, you know, like get it together. Like honestly, now I think he probably messed with like Ebony Bridges. Now I'm really jealous, you know? Now I'm really jealous. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, man, it's just
Ebony Bridges next
weird.
year. Okay, what about Sandy Ryan?
What do you mean? Like, oh, he dated her too?
No, no, no. I'm just saying, what do you think about her?
She looks great as a good
Yeah,
fighter, and she has, you know, like she's appealing and the looks.
there you
I
go.
I
There you go.
support her. I support her, and I follow her on. We follow her on Instagram. You know, so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like.
Hey,
You know,
Dream, let me ask you something not boxing related, because these gentlemen are just, you know, they're coming out and admitting that all of us are um curious people that do like to party, and we've tried a couple of things here and there, right? I'm sure you've been around the block here and there. Have you ever done any snortable drugs?
uh, nah, never.
Okay, all right, that's great, man. I have.
Accidentally put it in my lip one time on accident.
Yeah, an accident. How does that happen? Like
Huh?
Pablo Escobar don't make no mistakes. How does that happen? Hey,
Nah, I thought it was salt. I thought I was taking a shot, and I needed salt. So I was like, oh, and it slipped in my.
it just slipped right in your nose, right? And into the dollar bill.
Oh, never mind, bro. Just next subject, bro. Why do you ask? Why do you
Well,
ask?
it's because these gentlemen are talking about
Crazy.
that exactly, right?
Oh man. Okay.
So
I mean,
so they're you know,
it's crazy.
you were talking about, well, I think I'm the one who brought up Oscar de la Hoya's coke usage, and you know, I think it was
Okay.
Mexican Jesus, well, as a fellow partier, um let me see, as a
Yeah,
fellow
I
partier.
smelled some one time. Nah, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding.
um let's see what they said, right? The Mexican cheese starts it off by saying, "Ain't nothing wrong with Coke. Just a responsible user. Just be a responsible user." And El Pachuco admits, he says, "I am a fellow partier. I can't judge. As long as you don't harm other people, do what you want." Lights Out Sal says, "I agree. Come on, guys. It's not act like we haven't hit a few lines. I haven't let it take over my life." Yep. So, um, I
It's
I
hilarious.
when I was I think I went 3 times to Mexico. Dream. I
Oh,
once
that's all you
went.
gotta say. That's all
No,
you
no.
gotta say. I'm
Well,
kidding.
see, in Mexico, they really had. I don't know if it was coke or methamphetamine, right? But they used
Oh,
to have these little things called pericos, and pericos were like these little pills that they used to sell at um gas station for truckers, right? Like truck
mm.
stops. And my cousin, because he was a trucker, he was a few years older than me. I think the last time that I went, I was
Bro, this story,
17.
all the stars are aligning. Everything you're telling me, all the stars align for you to be a big like dealer. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Mhm.
So check this out. Wait, check this out. It does get pretty interesting, right? So we would visit this state, Michoacan, right? And we would take these hauls to another state adjacent to that. Um, it was I think it's Celaya. So I think that's
Mm.
in Guanajuato. Long story short, we would go into those states, right? And the little 3 states right there, so forth and so on, delivering lumber. And we would stop every so often to put petrol, which is that's what they call you know, gasoline or whatever over there in Mexico. And he would always buy us coffee, and he would always buy us these little pills. He would call the guy and be like, "Tienes perico?" Not perico. Pericos, yeah, pericos, and
Mm.
and he would bring us those, and he would give us to us. And me and my sibling, he was 2 years younger than me, and we would just pop them, and then we'd be wired, like we couldn't go to sleep at all for nothing. Our eyes were like so perfectly circular, and then after a couple of days, because these were long hauls, I don't think we stopped for like 3 days. He would just start cracking them open, and then he would have us snort him. And because we were younger and he was very popular and cool, we would just do whatever he said, and we were just snort these things, right?
Yeah.
Long story short, I remember he took us, the only time I've ever been to a strip club, he took us to a strip club. And the craziest thing, right? All of these guys are like in a big old circle, and there's this lady dancing right up in the middle and everything like that, and they're throwing her money and everything like that. And the only person she comes to, and she basically puts her face right in my, like her thing right in my face. I'm glad she didn't, because then I'd probably have some disease, right? But she comes right at me, ignores all these flying dollars and boom, 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 or pesos, whatever you call them, and she comes right at me and just starts dancing right up in my face. And I
Damn.
state that happened because of the coke, bro. Coke is a magical party drug, man. If you do coke, yeah, you're gonna have the greatest party in your life. But I had to stop doing that, because one time I was hanging out with a couple of friends. We'd been knowing each other for a long time, and we had graduated to methamphetamine, right? Unfortunately, and the methamphetamine and coke really doesn't. There's really no big distinction. It's just, I guess maybe I can describe it as methamphetamine is 10 times stronger than coke or something to that effect. And none of us were working because we were teenagers, right? 18 or whatever. I think all of us were unemployed at the moment. And we were partying in one of my friend's garages. And it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and we had like probably like a palm sized mound of meth, right? And I didn't bring it, and my friend didn't bring it, and his girlfriend didn't bring it,
Oh,
and
who
his
brought
other
it
friend didn't bring it. We don't know.
then?
We
You're
don't know,
lying. Son of
bro.
a- I
It
don't
was
know.
just there. It
I don't
was
know.
just there. Hundreds of dollars of drugs in this guy's garage, and we're snorting, and we're asking who got this, and nobody can give me an answer, right? Nobody knew whose it was. And right then there's something came about me, like an incredible dread, like a absolute fear that this was evil, like this was so bad. And from there, I just said, guys, I need to know where this is coming from, who put this there. And they're like, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. And because you're jittery, you're like, I don't know, you know, you're all wired and everything like that. And I was like, I'm sorry, guys, I can't do this anymore. I cannot do this anymore. I can't hang out
Oh,
with you guys.
that's
I can't. And I, you know what?
crazy.
I told them they would never see me again. And even though they literally lived one turn from my house, you walk down the street, you make a left, you make a quick right, and then just a few houses there. So they're literally like within a minute's walk.
Mm.
When I said that I would never see them again, and that I loved them, but I couldn't live this kind of lifestyle, and I never went back to snortables. After that, I never seen my friends again. I decided to change my life out of fear, out of fear of the unknown, out of fear that I was becoming a drug addict and not knowing why it or whether I even needed to. And I walked away from my friends, and I told them they would never see me again. And I think it must have been divine intervention or some kind of higher power that made it easy for me to walk away from these very potent drugs. You and I, we've partied a lot. You know that. You basically grew up with me, partying and drinking and smoking, right? But I never once introduced any kind of drug like that to you guys.
Yeah, nah. I didn't know that. Honestly, I didn't know that. I thought you were just some crazy guy that just painted his nails and painted his pants and put
Chrome.
on
Painted his pants chrome.
painted your pants chrome. And then when I got them, I remember I picked them up and they stayed the same position, like they were stiff as fuck. They're like
It's
they were
good.
stiff.
Okay, these guys are probably talking about what are you talking about painting your nails? So remember, guys, I was a punk rocker. Don't think I'm into like feminine stuff. It's just that I was a punk rocker. I used to play the drums in a punk rock band,
Oh
right?
man.
So those guys wear like ripped up, dirty, scraggly clothes, and you look all Sloveny and stuff like that. And I guess that was just some residuals from that lifestyle. But no, no, no. For the longest time, we were very much in the party life, and and we had the greatest of time. In fact, with you guys. But I never once introduced those things to you guys, and I would never let you guys bring those kind of drugs into my home. If you did, you'd never be welcome, because I know that I have a vulnerability, a weakness towards strong drugs. I have addictive personality, and I would not be able to have you guys around because I know that I would fall into those kind of temptations, right? So yeah, I guess in the case of what Pachuco, Lights Out Sal, and the Mexican are saying, yep, absolutely. We've had our moments of experimentation and partying, but man, oh man, watch out, guys, because that white lady, the white horse, man, it'll take you for a ride.
It'll take you for a ride. Oh, you're so dramatic.
Oh man.
Man, that's crazy though. Like honestly, no, I never even know that about you. I thought like you genuinely like to like you were like into like like rock, or because you made a lot of good beats. Remember? You used to make a lot of good beats on the PS2 and a lot of good like record playing, and honestly like I like that stuff now. It reminds me of those days, like those soothing. I don't know, it's not even elevated music, but it's like cool little beats, old school beats. But yeah, man,
Yeah.
if you want to go back to boxing.
Yeah. So, Dream. There was a couple of things, right, that I wanted to talk to you. Oh, so the Mexican G is saying like, man, I'm lucky that he's not calling me a punk yet, but that's technically what I would be. I would be what you call a punk, right? The Mexican G says punk rock, huh? Yeah, punk rock. I had this friend. He was a multi-talented musician, right? Like he just picked up a guitar one day and he knew how to play it. And he would play the drums. He would play the drums slightly, but not as good as me. And he would play the bass. He was pretty good at that. But his one thing was the guitar. His name was. Actually, you know what? I won't say his name because you never know, right? But
Mm.
he obviously couldn't play all three instruments. And to play punk rock, you just need three instruments really. Like electric guitar, bass, and drums. So my buddy took up the bass, my friend took up the guitar, and I played the drums. Now the drums are very simple for punk rock, right? It's really basically like drum and bass, or like fast techno, right? It's just boom, 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 boom. Just what we would play is hardcore. And it's basically the simplest thing: 1 2 1 2 1
Mm.
2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. And it was very rebellious, and it was very fun, and it was short-lived, my participation in that band right there, because he wanted to perform in all of these places, and I was very shy and timid, and I really distrusted people, and I had this fear of enclosed spaces, this condition called agoraphobia.
Hey, hold on. Before Rick starts to talk, let me tie that to the boxing, right? You notice how like the good
Agoraphobia.
dancers. Oh no, my bad, not that. Like the beats and all that. Like I've noticed, like good dancers have good feet, right? And that makes
Mhm.
of a good boxer. You know, like good footwork. I've noticed. I've seen like
Like
Usyk.
Lomachenko and Usyk.
Yeah, like no, they that have good footwork, and they're actually like dancing like to obviously to like techno and shit. But and that's actually like more, that shuffling shit is not easy. The way they dance is actually a no, it's called a shuffle, and they actually shuffle their feet, and it's actually a boxing workout. I was looking at it and I'm like, that's a boxing workout. Like coach has made us do that before, and it's crazy, because yeah, it's just I see all that and I'm like, okay, like if you're, as long as you can somehow work out and have fun with it, then that's what makes you a good boxer, or
Mhm.
a good boxer with footwork at least, But
Yeah.
Talking about, bro? What are you guys talking about?
We
we
were
were
talking
talking about.
about
I tried to tie it back, to
cocaine,
boxing.
punk rock, and now he's trying to bring it back
He's the
to
one.
boxing.
He's the one that went into it, though. He's the
Uh,
one that went to, not me.
yeah, man. Keep going, man. Keep going. Didn't you
But yeah, dude.
have? No?
But yeah, no. Okay, let me. Back in those days, bro. Uh, like we were still casuals, bro, but we were still, you know, uh, boxing fans. I think, like even after high school, right? So, yeah, some of those days, bro, just remind me of like this big fights, Canelo fights, and yeah, man. Like nowadays, we don't even go back there. It's at your parents, but yeah, man. I don't know. That's back in the day, though. So I think I used to still. I still actually knew about Jorge Linares. He was one of the few guys that I actually knew. And I was super casual back in 2015. But
Do you remember when I showed you guys the fight between Castillo versus Corrales and the projector?
oh yeah, dude, I remember that shit. That was cool.
I,
That was
I
really cool.
basically I wanted to make these guys a boxing fan, right? So they knew that I was always watching boxing, and I remember, and even to this day, Corrales Castillo is my favorite fight of all time, right? It really is the most incredible, what, 30, maybe 25-minute movie you could ever see in your life. I mean, in total, maybe like 45 minutes or whatever, right? But it was an incredible display of every single thing that we love in the sport of boxing. And one of my neighbors, he used to let me borrow this beautiful projector. It was incredible. It would just blast one of the empty walls in my house and big 50, 100 screen, like maybe 100-inch screen, 150-inch screen image and high definition. And
Damn.
I forced these guys to watch Corrales Castillo while we were getting stoned and drunk. And I hope that it led to the moment. I hope that it really impressed on you why I'm such an ardent supporter of this here violent sport. Mexican boxer says it's facts. You can't talk Spanish either. ¿De quién estás hablando, bro? Like, what are you talking about, man?
I
We all
know,
speak Spanish here. It's just that we all speak English too.
dude. Like little do you guys know, these guys speak like the most Spanish, and I'm like,
Yeah,
That
as
was
you guys can tell.
language that we learned in la casita, bro. That's what we learned at
La
home.
Cantona.
That was the
Yeah,
first.
I heard.
That
And
was
you actually
the language
you
that.
mix your and you mix your. I know you can speak good Spanish, but every time I'm around, like you mix in English with your Spanish, and I see
I
that.
try not to. I try to always keep it consistent, But
Yeah,
at the same time, bro, the words just slip out, and it is what it is. But thankfully, parents are still around, so we're able to
yeah,
speak it much more fluently. So, you can't. That's la cultura, bro.
yeah, yeah.
Berlin.
And I don't have that here. Yeah, nah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
Yeah, man.
but I'm very fluent in Spanish, guys. I can probably hold the show on my own in Spanish. I don't have any reason to find any sense of embarrassment or dissuasion for why I shouldn't speak Spanish. But it's just that I don't know, right? I think in English. I think in English, right? I mean, just take it.
Do
universal
you
language.
think?
So, like,
Do you think you can balance? You know how you say you have a lot of crazy. No, I'm not even saying large words, but you have very like you have a lot of words that I have never heard about. I've never heard of. I mean, and you
In English.
in English, do you think
Yeah.
you can do that in Spanish?
Uh, part of my job, it actually requires me to find the equivalent words in Spanish for my English terminology. The parlance that I
Mm,
use, I have to be able to speak in Spanish also, right? Because of sales, and also because of
mm,
the kind of service that I do offer. I have to be fluent in both languages, but it's different. Like, for example, it's the input, right? I'm good at you providing me input, and I'll provide you output in Spanish. But as far as initiating a conversation in Spanish, there's rarely ever a situation where I have to commence a conversation like that, right? Now, if I happen to go to like a supermarket or stuff like that, of course I can talk like that. If I have to meet with a provider, like a medical provider, and I have to do, maybe talk to a Spanish speaking provider here in the United States, I guess maybe I can hack myself through that. But mostly it's because of my education. I've been educated in American educational system, and unfortunately I have not lived long enough nor been educated formally in a Spanish speaking environment long enough for me to just kick off a very fluent conversation in Spanish, nor is there ever a need for it. But I can assure you one thing: if I happen to speak to Peruvians or I happen to speak to Spaniards, I can hack my own. But Spanish
Mm.
from Spain, completely different from
Yeah.
the kind of Spanish that we Mexicans
Uh,
practice, right?
Dude,
Very, very formal.
I grew up with my mom taking me to babysitters that spoke nothing but Spanish, since from the age two to all the way to 12.
Mhm.
And in between those years, I relocated to a city called Pittsburgh up north, by Oakland, and it was like a culture shift. No one spoke Spanish, and I was like, damn, like it's crazy, and everyone was saying the N word. Moved back to Salinas with the same babysitter, so I did a solid, like it's prison. I did a solid.
I did
I
a
did.
3 year stint.
Nah, I did probably like 8 years. There. Like 10 to 12 years old. I was pretty much
Wow,
there, and
that's
and pretty
horrible.
yeah, no, and I remember just speaking nothing but Spanish all day. And that's why it'll come back to me. And some of the words, it's like it's in my head, but I remember coming back from Pittsburgh and just losing all my Spanish. So and then I come back, and now my all my English literature scores were down pretty much for my whole school career. But that messed up my literature, man. Just because I was so busy speaking Spanish to Benjamin. And yeah,
I bet
I'm not a student. I'm not a student.
uh, Lights Out South says, who remembers Barrera versus McKinney and Barrera
Mm,
versus Junior Jones?
mm.
Uh, man, Lights Out South. That's a great question. Um, I see. The thing is this: I've been watching boxing since I was about 5 years of age. I remember.
Man,
Well, that's quite typical for a Mexican American
nah, it's
individual.
way back. No, I'm just kidding.
No, did you
Yeah,
guys talk about Eddie Hearn and Oscar De
Yeah,
La Hoya? You
we
guys
yeah,
did.
did.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I was gonna ask you.
Oh
I
yeah,
was
let's
gonna
have.
ask you
Oh,
what you think. Can who's gonna win that 5v5? And also, can Oscar De La Hoya rebound from, having his top fighters, a lot of them undefeated, lose to Eddie Hearns? We know that Eddie Hearns fighters lost the 5v5 versus Queensborough and Mr. Frank Warren. So I ask you, homie Ricky, can Oscar De La Hoya similarly suffer a setback like that and rebound again, or would it be absolutely deleterious to him and his company?
I think it's gonna happen to what happened to Eddie Hearn. We have to understand those fighters that Eddie Hearn fought up against Frank Warren. Frank Warren had the better nucleus of fighters. You get what I'm saying? Like the ones that he put up in presentation. But at the same time, when I look at Golden Boy and Eddie Hearn, the fighters right now are favoring Eddie Hearn. Like Shakur versus Floyd Schofield. Schofield is still a contender, right? And this is his first opportunity to be in a champion where Shakur's been 3-time champion already in 3 different weight classes. So in that particular purpose, it serves Floyd Schofield. Madrimov versus Vergil. I think, if I go back 30 minutes later, I feel the comments, I don't know if it was El Pachuco or Mexican G, they were saying 7:30 for Virgil in favor, or I forgot who said that. But The way I look at it is, it's possible that Eddie Hearn 5-0s Oscar De La Hoya, because it seems that in terms of recent memory and recent time, that rivalry is more. It's much more of a thing than it is between Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn. So yeah, I think it's gonna favor Eddie Hearn, especially the matchups that they're talking about. Like, I don't know why this is even a talking point, but Ryan Garcia versus Jaron Boots Ennis. I don't even know why is that even a conversation.
That's ridiculous.
Then there's also like Jack Catterall versus either Arnold Barboza and Jose Ramirez. So that's already happening next month in February. So I don't know if that's part of the 5 versus 5, but there's supposed to be Camarón Zepeda, and he's supposed to fight Shaker, and I don't exactly know. There's rumors of Diego Pacheco versus somebody. Could it be possibly Jaime Munguia? I don't know what other 168 pounders that Oscar De La Hoya really has. Maybe a Yogasta Valle. I don't know. The roster of Golden Boy, it seems pretty thin, so I'm kind of intrigued. I think I had the Forbes. Let me find that Forbes article. Hold on. And they were talking about some potential fights. But yeah, I think this time Eddie Hearn's gonna wise up. He understands that series that he had against Frank Warren, when Frank Warren obliterated his roster, that hurt Eddie Hearn's stock. And I think even more so now, that's since Joshua and all of these guys got destroyed once again, it's just really bad for Eddie Hearn, and he needs like a lifeline, bro. Because even going back to Shakur Stevenson versus old boy Flo Schofield, maybe that's a closer fight than we really think. There's a reason why Floyd Schofield was very adamant to pressuring Oscar De La Hoya and Bernard Hopkins. Give me that fight. Get me that fight. And these guys were like, no, Floyd, you gotta take it easy. You know how like Oscar talks like. But yeah, man, I think this is pretty bad for Oscar, and he's got to really play his hand properly.
Yeah, I know. He doesn't have a lot of options. He's got to he's got to play it safely. And if he is going to play his whole entire hand as far as talent, it better be for a big payday, But Oscar, he's better off just protecting his investments, if you will, So just because the zone, they got a good squad, man. Or Matchroom, I believe, right? Not right?
Correct, yeah. And then you also think about it like this. Boots already talked himself out of the Vergil Ortiz.
Mm-hmm.
Pulled his skirt, and he was like, nah, ain't no package underneath there. So he was like, I'm going back to 147. So I don't know how that's going to favor Vergil other than like a Madrimov fight, right? I guess according to Forbes, I don't know when this article came out. Let me scroll up to the top, see what's the fight date. This is November 11, 2024 at 6:52 p.m., right? They mention names right here. Zepeda versus Stevenson. Possible is Jaron Boots Ennis versus Vergil Ortiz. The winner of Jose Ramirez, Arnold Barboza versus Jack Catterall. Jai Opetai versus Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez. Then there's Madrimov somewhere, or Oscar Duarte or Diego Pacheco. You know what I mean? So when you really look at all these fights, 3 of them already happening, right? Or 2 of them. Arnold Barboza, Jack Catterall. How is that going to be part of the 5 versus 5? If we're supposed to have an exclusive night towards this, I don't know how many fighters Oscar De La Hoya has. And I don't know. It's going to be pretty tricky. And I think that's where the article ends.
Hey, do you know that dude, Eddie De Assis?
What about Bektemir?
Bektemir Malkuziev? I think that's a PBC fighter, bro.
No, Beck the Bully?
Oh, Beck the Bully? Man, you think about Beck the Bully versus Diego Pacheco?
That's all right.
Oh wow, that's pretty good, actually. That's pretty good. That's actually pretty good.
Rosado versus Diego Pacheco.
No, they got the Gabe Rosado versus Edgar Berlanga.
Oh, that's right.
That's messed up.
Too. But you see,
I don't.
Those situations, they all favor Eddie Hearn, bro.
Yeah,
that's a good one, bro. What the hell? I didn't even think about that. That was cool.
Who? Gabe Rosado versus Berlanga?
Nah, I mean, sure, that one's alright, but I'm talking about like Diego Pacheco versus Melkuziev, the Bully.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. I didn't even
Dude,
think about
that's
that.
a good. Really good fight right there.
Yeah, actually, that's a very good fight. I think Beck could beat him. Beck
I
could
think
beat
Beck. I think he will beat him if that goes down.
because of the body work.
Yeah.
I think because you would know that that's one thing that David Pacheco has. He has a long, lanky body. Um, I tune into Shakur when I can't sleep. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Of course, lights out so that we have a fighter as athletic, as rangy, as suitable to fight at weight classes like 130. In fact, he actually was fighting at 126. Shakur Stevens, 126, 130, 135, and somehow, even though he's always enjoyed the physical advantages over these fighters, he's always a very cautiously conscientious fighter. I mean, our philosophy, at least in this channel, if I'm not mistaken, I think I would like to speak for everybody here, is that we like fighters that come here to fight. They stand their ground, and if you're taller, rangier, stronger, you use those advantages, those physical advantages, to destroy your opponent, not to play it safe and just jab your way into wins, right? So somebody like Shakur Stevens, although I do accredit him as a very uh, good technical fighter, he won't get as much respect as, let's say, somebody like Floyd Schofield.
Hold on.
Even if Schofield is more vulnerable
Why
because
do
he's
you
just
think?
much more exciting.
Why do you think Zepeda didn't want to take that fight? Because of that performance versus Tevin Farmer? Like, that was a good fight, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good fight. Tevin gave him his all, bro. Like Tevin, it's just that he's in and out of the gym, and that's what he says. He's like, it's hard to stay focused because all the shit that goes down in the boxing game, like in the back, behind the scenes, it makes it hard for him to stay in the gym. And once I heard that, I was like, man, like you can only get better if you stay in the gym, and I just don't know if he's gonna continue to be that same guy he was for that Zepeda fight, But for Zepeda to get knocked down against a dude like that, against a dude that's questioning kind of his career, he's like balancing things out with his life and his entrepreneurship life and all this stuff, So I don't know. I like that. I think Zepeda got a lot of holes in his game, and I think he exposed that, bro. I think Tevin really did.
But that's the thing, though. That's why I was a little confused with Cameron, because he's been dropped before. And
Yes.
Tevin Farmer, at least he's been an ex-champion or, been around the block. The guy that previously dropped him like 3-4 fights back, that was not supposed to happen. Zepeda was like a 24-1 favored, and he got dropped in like the early rounds, maybe even the first round. Now, it was just a flash knockdown, but be that as it may, it's like that's not a big puncher. Where at least Tevin Farmer, he's got experience with guys like Jojo Diaz and a few other fighters that he's lost to. He's always been pretty good. At least he always goes the distance and he's always in competitive matches. So I don't know. I thought Cameron had all the advantages if that negotiation didn't fall apart or he pulled out with the hand injury, because Shakur's dealing with the hand surgery as well. He's over a year of inactivity. And it's like, Cameron, do you think that he's going to be able to withstand 1,000 punches that you're going to throw in 12 rounds? I don't think so. This is going to look bad on Shakur, and they'll probably give you the decision. Now Shakur's having a young guy, Floyd Schofield, Kid Austin. He's going to get the ring rust out of his system. He's going to bang it with a pretty strong kid, right? And now Shakur has all the advantages, and who knows how long Zepeda's out for, if his hand injury is legit, or, sometimes if it's soft tissue damage. Because I remember when I injured my wrist and my elbow, I think I hyperextended it. I threw a punch a little out of reach, and then when I hit the bag or I hit a person's face, I don't know, every single time I tried to throw my two, I could feel like that little sensation. I was like, wait. It's kind of like, you guys ever play that game Operation, and then you feel like that electric charge, like that's how it felt in my elbow and especially my wrist. And
like the funny bone.
Yeah, that little area. So
yeah.
I don't know what Zepeda is dealing with. I believe him because he's not giving me a reason not to, but also this. If you throw 100 punches per round and more, by the end fight, yeah, I guarantee you're going to be extremely sore and you're probably going to damage your whole body, your whole fists. So maybe it's a much needed rest that he needs. But I don't know. I felt like that was the time Zepeda to really you can put in work against Shakur. And you also got to understand this. He's fought in 3 lefties back to back to back. So Zepeda had fought in Maxie Hughes. He obliterated him. And Maxie Hughes just beat somebody not too long ago, like 2 weeks ago. And then he also obliterated. Well, he didn't obliterate.
He beat Gary the Diva Coley and embarrassed him, outclassed him.
No way, bro. What?
Bro, he outclassed him. Like you have to watch that fight. Like that's the thing about Maxie Hughes, right? And Maxie Hughes, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to send him an Instagram message, if you want to hit up his channel and comment to him, say anything to him, ask him about anything, he will respond. He is very receptive to your questions. He is a very approachable individual. It's hard. Yeah, of course. He actually, because I reach out to these fighters, right? Like I've tried to push our channel into other spheres, right? For example, I don't want to just go live and make reaction shorts or talk lives. Sometimes I want to interview fighters, and I've reached out to one of the fighters of what was his name? Man, goodness, one of the fighters that died last year, and I reached out to his prior stablemate and his what did they call it when you live with another person? Roommate. I reached out to his roommate, and I said, if you ever
You're bunky.
yeah. Oh, you're bunky. I asked his roommate if he would, because I wrote something in regards to him. I posted something about rest in peace, and I was sending links so that people can contribute to this fallen fighter's GoFundMe for his surviving wife and his 2-year-old child. And his roommate reached out and he said, yeah, the manager, our manager was a scumbag. He was setting him up. And I was like, whoa. This guy's letting me know on some things. Like, that's on some personal stuff. And I reached out to him and asked him if he would like to ever go live or have an interview about it, and he said sure. Unfortunately, he had a fight coming up in about 3 weeks, so he was in training camp, and I never reached back out to him again. With Maxie Hughes, the same thing. I reached out to him about how I thought that he had been robbed at the hands of George Kambosos, and he started to talk back about how he understood why it happens. He understood that he was the guy who was being set up to lose. He actually believes that he won, but he respects Georgie Kambosos and so forth and so on. And he was very, very receptive. I've had a few conversations, like, what's his name? Jonathan Sosa, the guy who went into a seizure after he got hit in the nape of the neck twice, and he complained about it, and the fighter continued to do it again, put him in that seizure, one of the most traumatic knockouts of last year. And in fact, one of the very first reasons for why I reached over 500 subscribers was because I reported on these underreported tragedies in the sport, and those people that were adversely affected, they allowed me to reach out to them, and we had these pretty lengthy conversations, right? I've always wanted to push this channel to be bigger than what it is, guys. Don't try and blame me if we're so small.
Look,
Yeah,
what
man.
I want to say is William Zepeda had all of the advantages against Shakur Stevenson. Bro, he had fought in 4 lefties back to back. Tevin Farmer, Giovanni Cabrera,
Damn.
Maxie Hughes, Mercito Gesta, Jojo Diaz. Like, bro, how much more experience against lefties do you need? Last time Shakur faced a lefty, possibly Edwin de los Santos, he ran for dear life. That decision, Camarón, they will give it to you, bro.
Yeah.
Decision that they didn't give Edwin de los Santos, who had basically no promoter, no promotional company, no big name status, or whatever the case may be, from a different country, a different land. You at least have the backing of Golden Boy. They will give you that decision. They'll make a 7-5 for you. So just because Tevin landed that punch doesn't mean he's gonna land it on you.
Especially with AI judging, bro. Especially with all this AI judging, they're gonna refer to that a lot more. and I feel like it's gonna change the tide on the boxing game, bro.
I don't really think that they're gonna do that AI judging. I think what we have been speculating upon to hold these referees and scorecards accountable. Like you have to justify why you saw that fight, and a
That
lot
too.
of basically, promoters that can backhand these judges, give them money under the table, and it's just like, hey, yo, close round, give it to my fighter. And there's like this unspoken rule. Now, if you put the spotlight, and we talked about it, kind of like a jury, if these judges, after they go into a little room, they look at they go to each other's tables, they start reviewing their notes and be like, okay, dude, to a consensus, we have this fighter, we'll give it to him. That's proper. For a long time, look, you can be in one, I'm sure every single one of us has been in a boxing gym, right? Doesn't matter if you have one perspective, one angle, and the other. You can still see the majority of everything. It's not like you're blinded to something. Oh, like if that's blocked, if the head snaps back, if the guy's fidgeting and he got sweat in his eyes. You can see all of those things, right? So these
I disagree.
their scorecards. Dude, it's true. Especially in that close of proximity where you're literally ringside, you can see almost everything.
Oh yeah, ringside, yeah.
And that's where these judges are at. So there shouldn't be such a big gap where one judge has it 118, 110, and the other one 114, 112, where it's like, bro, how do you justify that? Now, I understand the concept of a swing round, right? Like where it's like, oh man, it's too close to call. I scored it a draw. And that's why when these refs and these judges meet up together and they talk about it in cohesion, now you're able to get some damn solidarity and move forward and be like, all right, the winner, red corner. But if these guys never chop it up and talk to each other, it's like, bro, you guys are just submitting these numbers without any justification, without anybody pleading their case, without looking at the CompuBox, because essentially the fans watching it at home on their screens, we have access to all of that. So our minds aren't deceptive. If we, in the majority of the consensus, we put it up to a vote, I guarantee you the fans are going to be more in agreement than different. They're going to be like, okay, we had this fighter winning, and then we use CompuBox and all these other things to justify, yeah, what we saw is correct. So what I'm trying to say is these judges they're not superior to the boxing fan, especially if we have close-ups with the cameras, we have replay value, right? During that 1 minute break, we have CompuBox to justify every single thing. I never understood why they stopped doing this. And maybe some promotional companies do this. I just haven't been privy to.
What, replay?
Open scorecards.
Oh.
Every 4 rounds. They used to have that.
Oh.
Showtime or
I know what.
Or certain, states had open scorecards.
It's a state thing.
Say again?
It's state to state. I heard Ness say that. Like they don't have instant replay or some of the accesses that you're talking about in certain states. Gotcha. I'm not sure about country though. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, I understand that like the judges don't get replay value or they don't get to see in the monitors. That's why they're sitting in ringside, because they don't need that. You get a more closer view of it. And maybe they don't need CompuBox, but it'd be nice to know a pitch count or like, oh, okay, this fighter threw this punches, only landed 20%. That helps because some of these swing rounds are really close and the numbers do help you understand, okay, that's the statistics. You validate all the totality of, the facts and the circumstances. And then you're like, okay, boom, next round, we're ready. And kind of like the Olympics. After every round, you see all the scorecards validate their thing, and then they show you at the bottom, and they're like 10 points to the red corner. And then you already know, so you have a level of urgency in the second or the third round to close out the deal. I don't know why boxing doesn't do that. And they only I know why they don't do it. And the reason is to, condone the fuckery. Yo. Right there, the homie Ricky sighting. But let me read a couple of these comments, man. We have, let's see. Let's scroll back a little bit. Lights Out Sal says, who remembers Barrera versus McKinney and Barrera versus Junior Jones? Lights Out Sal goes, yo, Ricky, look up those fights, man. You will not be disappointed. War Speed goes, I actually just Googled them, and I think I did, but I watch so much boxing, I forget so much. I've also done drugs in my life, so I have bad memory, like you always like to tell us. He also further states, but I will visit my parents one day and rewatch them together to help them or help me with limits. The Mexican G goes, I got Floyd Schofield beating Shakur. Shakur is a punk. Eddie de Assis goes, salute, homie Ricky. What's up, brother? Lights Out says, I tune in into Shakur. I can't sleep. When I can't sleep. Oh, okay. Let me see. So basically, I'm gonna read that again because I can't read. I tune into Shakur fights when I can't sleep. Yeah, man. He, I think he's only had one or two dominant performances where they've actually been really enjoying. And I can't even give him that much credit because when you know so much about Jamel Herring, when you know that he can't mess with you, yeah, you're gonna put lights out on your sparring partner. It's I don't know. It is what it is. And Pachuco goes, I feel like Oscar De La Hoya will be okay for quite a while since he has first dibs on the Mexican-American boxing talent pipeline. Very true. One fighter that to look out for is his name is Jordan
Fuentes.
Jordan Fuentes.
Mm-hmm.
He's like from Merced or Fresno area. So yeah, man, he's a really good fighter. Very good fighter, very good boxer, very slick. Jordan Fuentes.
Yeah, that's a good fighter. I remember seeing him fight.
But Oscar De La Hoya turned Canelo into a boxing superstar. And I said, remember, and he also helped Mayweather and Pacquiao accelerate their careers when he passed on the torch. Man, Oscar De La Hoya is responsible for the past essentially 30 years of great boxing. Like, that's just the reality. He's responsible when he held it down and it was his time. Gold medalist, had a great professional career, one of the faces, pillars of boxing. Passed the torch to Floyd Mayweather when he was, still in his prime-ish. And then he also passed the torch to Manny Pacquiao, making weights at 145 pounds. That's a dead man. And he did that, and he quit after the 9th round because, bro, he's already done. So Oscar De La Hoya, bro, he doesn't get enough credit that he rightfully deserves. And then he's the only boxer that has a top-tier promotional company that had an amazing roster with him, Al Heyman, and Eddie Schaefer, Richard Schaefer were doing their thing. All of those fighters left, and he's still punching it. Like, where's PBC at? We don't really know. We don't even know about anything. And look at all of their fighters. They're extremely inactive. All of them. It's a damn shame. They should all go back to Oscar because he treated them well. And Pachuco goes, exactly, man. Oscar De La Hoya reverberates through the recent and current state of boxing. He is highly underappreciated.
He is, bro. Like, he's the most he's the biggest promotional former fight like that used to fight at a high level. He's really like the only guy to ever do that in the history of boxing, bro. And that needs to get credit in itself, bro. You're like a promotional juggernaut now, and I don't know, I don't really remember like back in 2004 how big Golden Boy was. Like, I do know they were doing like he started like his promotional company like in the 90s or something, right? Right?
No, I don't think so. I think he was probably always possibly. I think he was always a co-promoter of these events.
Okay.
Like Eddie, it's like an Anthony Joshua, Devin Haney promotion. They're not really established like quite well, They barely or might not even have a lot of fighters on their roster during that time because Golden Boy just focused exclusively on his career. Once he retires, like around 2011, 2009-ish, after the Steve Forbes fight, if I'm not correct, maybe Pacquiao was his last fight, then that's when he really started focusing on his whole career. Drew asks, any update on Damien Vicious Vargas? And Warp Speed goes, no, but he will go pro this year. Homie doesn't want to train him. Easy fart. Exactly, man. Oh, no, I read one. Lights Out South says, what do you guys think about Emiliano Vargas? Will he go far into the hurt business?
Mm.
And then El Pachuco follows up with the last comment at Warp Speed. Mucha suerte, compa. Let me know if I can help out with sponsorship. I don't have much, but I very much appreciate the tough pack. Look, man, one of my things this year is
that's amazing. Thank you, El Pachuco.
Yeah, absolutely, El Pachuco. Shout out to you, bro. I'm gonna try to not be lazy. So I'm gonna try to do a better job of getting more in shape. I started well last year. I think I ran over 1,000 miles, and my goal this year is to double it or triple it up. So I've been trying, man, but I have a standard for myself that I really let myself go. So I apologize on that. But even just the YouTube thing, I'll try to give you guys more exclusive footage. Have my nephew kick my ass. Give you guys some things, and then I'll probably try to interview Ruben Villa, Jorge Maravillo, and maybe even spar them as well, just to give you guys more content and much more interviews. Give me a little bit of time, just so I can like take some body punches, because if they go dig in there, I'm not trying to really piss
Jorge.
off,
It's Jorge, bro, that got power. Or like that's capable.
All it really takes is that good one, a good thing,
Yeah.
right to the front, and then next thing you know, you're finding yourself with the Kool-Aid punch, like the red man breaking through the walls and pissing out blood. And I'm not trying to be that guy right now. Don't really feel good, but yeah. So give me some time, guys. Give me some time. But yeah, Warren's been saying that his son wants to. I don't know if his son wants to go pro, but I know the main coach, Coach Danny, is really pushing them to go. I feel like another year of really developing and getting into their man strength and really learning how to sit down in the punches. I think it behoove them and it would be better for them. But at the end of the day, they got they're still learning, brother. They're still learning. Got a lot to learn.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the guy who knows more than everybody isn't willing to go in there and engage. So yeah, it's unfortunately. I would say, guys, don't believe half of the stuff that homie Ricky says. He talking about going in the ring and fighting Ruben Villa. He won't even fight my son. So let's just keep it a buck, right? Let's just keep it a buck. So I wanted to talk to you guys about a couple of things, guys, and I want you to put on your management hat. Right, I want you to put on your management hat. I want you to also put on your fan boy hat, and tell me what you guys would do in the case of David Benavidez, right? His career in particular. I was reading a report on Boxing Scene today on the 4th of January 2025. I think no, actually, this was written a couple of days back. It says the 4th of January, and I think we're on the 6th now. And it's about Sergio Mora and his opinions about David Benavidez and what he's able to do at light heavyweight, right? How he's supposed to maneuver and things of the sort. And he was having a conversation with Chris Mannix on Boxing with Mannix and Mora. And in essence, what he is saying is that David Benavidez and his team have to, quote unquote, pump the brakes on any potential bout with light heavyweight champion Artur Beterbiev, right? He goes on to say that, in the opinion of Sergio Mora, Beterbiev would be more than a 2-1 favorite, maybe 3 or even 4-1 favorite against Benavidez, and Benavidez really has to move in a careful fashion before he moves on to fight somebody, the likes of Dmitry Bivol. Now, we know that Dmitry Bivol is one of the older champions in the sport, right? Not only is he older, he's 38 years of age, but he's also very sharp worn. We know that he's taken on a lot of long hiatuses. Usually fights only once a year for the past 4 or 5 years, because every time he sustains he fights, he sustains some kind of serious injury to the point that he has to take off around a year in recovery, and a lot of the time he's actually undergone the blade. He's undergone quite a few surgeries, if I'm not mistaken, of his wrists and of his arm or shoulders and of his knees, right? Now, when Sergio Mora says that David Benavidez needs to, quote unquote, wait out Artur Beterbiev, and that even right now, with all the information that I did just provided you, Dmitry Bivol being at 38 years of age, having gone through a lot of surgeries and things of the sort, that he would still have to wait that guy out. Do you guys think that Sergio Mora is being very considerate of Dmitry Bivol, or is he really trying to downplay any skill set, any opportunities that somebody as fresh and as young and as unhurt as David Benavidez is to fighting a fighter of that caliber? Do you guys give David Benavidez any chances of fighting somebody like Dmitry Bivol, or does he really have to slow his roll?
I don't know. That's a tough question to ask, kidding. It's not as complicated, bro. Like, I think Benavidez still needs to prove it to me at 175 that he can still punch. I see what Sergio Mora is saying. I He can be a little harsh sometimes, but I feel like he's more like Rick style. You know, Rick loves to be harsh and give him credit at the end, um, but yeah, just for me, like I think with Benavides, he is he isn't gonna dominate like he says he will. You know, because he sparred him already, and he said he almost dropped him. You know, so um, I just don't see that. You know, I don't see that. I need to go and rewatch that fight with him and what's his name? Goyas or
Bosdick.
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 My bad. It's because it starts with the G, you know, and it kind of throws me off sometimes. But yeah. So yeah, I need to rewatch that fight just because Rick speaks highly of that dude, you know, and I think you know, this guy sparked Canelo as well, but I don't know. To me, I didn't really see anything too special about him, but his resume says otherwise. You know, the guys he's been in there with, you know. So yeah, I guess I gotta reevaluate what I'm about to say.
What?
But I have gone on record saying that he doesn't beat. He can actually beat a Bivol, but I don't see him beating a better beef. You know, therefore he will probably never fight Canelo.
Whoa, 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 whoa! You wait. Who could beat a Bivol? David?
He has a chance against him
Oh, okay, but he does not have. Yeah, okay, okay.
more than he
Yeah,
does
that
with
makes sense.
Benavides. Or
Yeah.
more,
What
my
about
bad.
you, Dream? What? And I guess you say
His
that because
opinion.
the meet. I guess you say that because Bivol has not enough punching power to actually take out David Benavides, and as long as David Benavides is still in the fight, he has a chance, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, man,
What about you, homie? What do you
yeah,
think?
David stands no chance. And the reason being is not because he doesn't have el orgullo, not because he's not going to throw
Pride.
punches. It's because you have the wrong strategy and the wrong game plan. Now, in this particular case against Benavides and Alexander Vostik, right? In this particular fight, just off observation alone, David doesn't really look strong or big at 175. But in this particular fight, he did look very fast. But even in that particular moment, he's lunging, throwing left hooks. He's
Mhm.
basically like Alberto Venado Lopez when he fought that one kid from like was signed with Floyd Mayweather. What's the guy that knocked him out?
Angelo Leo.
Angelo Leo. When you're lifting your feet and your chin is up in the air like Venado Lopez, when you fight down with these fighters that actually sit on the shots, in this particular case, an older Alexander Vostik and Artur Betterbeef, you're leaving yourself up, losing all leverage, right? Overcompensating for the lack of power and size,
Mhm.
and you're susceptible to being countered left and right. These punches will not be able to land with might against Archer, and he'll knock out David Benavides. He'll simply
Yes,
knock him out.
I
And
agree.
let's just watch a little bit right here. Hold on.
Definitely not the volume we're used to seeing. Oh, here we go. Second half of the fight is what turns into that buzzsaw, guys.
Yeah. Hey, look, I like Benavides at 68. I like him at 75 because there's really no just.
Even right there, he's popping. He's getting his head popped back. He se está levantando. You get what I'm
Lifting
saying?
up.
Because he's so worried about the power that's coming back. Now, maybe you guys saw this fight, you know, a landslide. David Benavides won 10 rounds to 2. But only because Alexander Vostik did not turn it up. The thing here, though, is that while David doesn't have the strength at 175, he does have not only youth to his size, but his hand speed. And that's what David has to understand is this. Bro, you're not a big puncher. You get what I'm saying? You're essentially like Manny Pacquiao that throws a lot of punches, but without that Manny Pacquiao snap. Pacquiao had that snap, and when he was moving up the ladders, knocking out guys like David Diaz, then he moved up to get at a catchweight, and then he continued to move up. He was knocking these dudes out with flurries and punches and bunches and combinations, and just follow these angles. And that's what David has to understand and use as he's moving up in these weight class. Don't try to overpower these dudes because you've never had that knockout power even at 168. You couldn't knock out Caleb Plant. You really couldn't sleep Ronald Gabriel. You couldn't sleep
Gabriel.
Look down the list. He did not sleep anybody. The only guy that he slept was Demetrius Andrade at 154. And I don't even think he slept him. I think Andrade eventually ended up quitting on the stool. But that's a 150
Porky?
pounder. Not even Porky
What's-
Medina. He threw like a fucking 20-punch flurry combination. And he was like, and the dude flew out of the ring. So that's David is your hand speed. If you know how to utilize it, then you can beat these guys by those combinations and punches and simply outworking them. Well, just like always, Bivol, he's not going to be there for you to throw more than 1 or 2 punches at a time. He's going to move. He's going to tie you up. He's going to pull back and make you pay. When he feels that you're getting in that danger zone, he's going to throw nothing but straight punches, right? Artur Beterbiev, if he doesn't need to catch you like a rabbit and you're coming to him, bring it on. He trusts his power. And kind of like that guy Callum Johnson was able to drop him, I don't know if David has that power enough to, at least he's not shown it yet at 175. For all intents and purposes, what David needs to do, first, see if he can knock out this prospect, right? And David Morrell. The kid's a prospect. He has no championship qualities. Hot Rod went the distance with him. Morrell was lunging and overcompensating for punches, couldn't cut off the ring great either. It was a very tricky fight for David Morrell because it's supposed to be. The kid only has like 9 to 12 fights, whereas David has almost triple the experience. But if he is able to clear David Morrell and somehow Canelo still refuses to fight David Benavidez, David should probably think about rematching Alexander Volstik. And maybe this time he has no excuses that he injured his hand, that he had a cut in his eyelash, and just get the job done and see if he can hurt Alexander Volstik with Memo Angel Heredia.
That's what I was going to say.
Then it makes sense. But as of right now, I hate to say age Artur Beterbiev out because, I mean, the guy's already 40 years old, fights 1 time a year. What more do you want? Inactivity of 5 years? Then you're no longer being the same. You have to have pride in terms of your opponent selection and how you beat your opponents. And at the time and space that you beat the opponents. Just because you got Artur Beterbiev at the age of 57, you can't feel proud about yourself beating him. Kind of like Jake Paul. Okay, congratulations, bro. You beat Mike Tyson, but that dude's almost 70 years old. You really feel so much pride in because of that? Like, no way, dude. You can't. So, El Orgullo Mexicano, it means a lot. And it's about when you take these fights. That's why David, it's quite shocking for me for David to continue to find and fight these same fighters that is just like, okay, bro, it really looks like you're really trying to protect your whole brand. That's just the way I look at it, man. But let me read a couple of these comments. War Speed goes, man, who was that? I forgot the name. Drew goes, Ronald Gravel.
Gabriel.
Gravel.
War Speed goes, yep.
Gravel.
Good to you, brother. He goes, Oscar is correct. Lights Out Sal says, Andrade pulled a no mas. Yeah, man. I mean, dude, he got punched and it made him a little cross-eyed. You got a little buggy down the nose. Hey, bro, you got one of the things about being a smart fighter is you got to know when, hang him up. The Mexican G goes, yeah, man. Benavidez is a volume puncher, not a power puncher. I love that. You said it better than I could have ever stated it. I'll highlight that one. I agree. And once David realizes it and be honest with himself, just honest assessment of your own self, then you won't find yourself lunging against big guys like Alexander Volstik. Then you realize hand speed, combination punches, high, low, high, punch placement. The Mexican G goes, man, Beterbiev is gold. I think Benavidez can beat him if he waits a few more years. Yeah, man. But, let's be consistent here. What Sergio Mora is stating is ducking. Duck Artur Beterbiev and age him out. Same thing how Tank Davis is doing Lomachenko. I can't respect that. I mean, I would still love to watch the fights, but I can't respect it. I don't think Lomachenko is out of his prime. That fight with George Kambosos proved to me that he still has the intellect and that fight in him to really hurt these dudes that's never been knocked out. So I know he'll give Tank a tough fight, but at the same time, it's like those are cowardice acts. That's not a fighter's language. You should not be like, oh, you know what, bro? I'm gonna age him out. All you gotta say is like, you know what? If the fight presents itself, like Jermell Charlo, I'm taking on Canelo. I'm not pulling out like Jermall. That's crazy talk. Anyway,
Yeah, but okay, yeah. So the reason that I asked you
before you go,
folks
before, let me
to
read out the comments real quick. New Country goes, exactly, because if he would have, he could have KO'd Plant, but he didn't. Lights Out Sal continues further by stating David does not have a high IQ, but he does have high punch volume. Plant was holding on for dear life. Benavides beat Plant worse than Canelo. And Pacheco goes, hope your breaks there, kid. I don't think Benavides can beat Bivol or better be. Take it away.
yeah. So okay, so the reason why I asked you guys, I asked you fine gentlemen to put on your management hat and to also be considerate as a boxing fan of these fighters, right? It's because in hindsight, what you really have to look at is where this fighter is right now. David Benavides just made his inauguration fight at light heavyweight, and he looked, for lack of better words, mediocre would be the term to use, right? Middle of the road, not bad, not good, not spectacular, not horrible. He didn't look like a champ. He looked like a prospect, right? A talented prospect that's trying to climb the ranks in another division. Now, if David Benavides had fought the level of fighter that he fought in Bostic, right, and he overcame that, which he did, then you would know that he's a prospect. But you wouldn't necessarily say that he's ready for the champions, right? Especially what we know of the champions there at the top. Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev, guys that have cleared the division for years. And in fact, when they ended up fighting each other, it was a very close fight that I had in favor of Artur Beterbiev, right? But if we're being honest with ourselves, David Benavides did not look like he's ready for those champions. So is it absolutely unreasonable to think that Sergio Mora is correct when he says that he should slow his roll and get acclimated to 175? I think if you're trying to manage a fighter to become a winner, right? I would agree with Mora and say yes, as his manager, yes, David Benavides had an outing with a very capable champion, a former champion in Bostic, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe he was undefeated when Artur Beterbiev knocked him out. But he had a very capable fighter that. For the most part, he only had one prior loss. Yeah, he had about a year or two hiatus after that loss, that knockout loss. But nonetheless, he looked unspectacular, which means if I'm his manager, I'm not going to set him up against a fight that he's surely going to lose by one of the only fighters in the sport that had 100% knockout ratio, right? So I think if we're being considerate, Sergio Mora is correct. Now we have to ask ourselves, what does aging out mean? Does it mean wait to see what happens between Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol, see how he looks? What if he beats Dmitry Bivol again? Do you fight him then? Or does that mean he's still so fresh and capable that you don't want to pit him up against him? When do you want to see David Benavides fight Artur Beterbiev? Right? So you can't wait out this fighter anymore. The guy is gonna turn 39 years of age soon enough. He already has a fight lined up with a guy who gave him heck and back, and Dmitry Bivol. You cannot age this guy out because after he beats Dmitry Bivol, he doesn't need anybody else on his resume. If he wants to beat David Morrell, David Morrell doesn't do anything for Beterbiev. If he beats Benavides, the most that it'll do is get him a good paycheck, but it won't necessarily elevate him any higher. It won't give him any more respect or credibility. The guy has done everything he needed to do in the sport, except move up in weight. So what I'm saying is this: it either has to happen next, depending on what happens between Bivol and Beterbiev, but it cannot be a fight that you weigh him out, right? Because we don't know how long he has. Now, if he looks spectacular, maybe you do have to duck him a little further. Maybe that means Artur Beterbiev can be a 39, maybe 40-year-old fighter, a la the Mayweather, a la the Pacquiao, all those kind of fighters. And I don't know. I think Sergio Mora may be right. David Benavides is not ready for that kind of smoke.
I don't know, man. I can't accept any of that stuff that you're telling me. I hear what you're saying, but that's a business transaction. That's a business, man. You're not thinking like a fighter. And also this is once in a lifetime opportunity where you can get all glory. Like David, everyone's expecting David to not be able to beat Archer Beterbiev. You get what I'm saying? And this
Bro.
man has an undefeated record. He's got 4 or 5 belts, right? You got the main tour and then the Leno Ring magazine, everything in favor. You can't pass away from these opportunities
Mm-mm.
because
But if the money's good, yeah, of course you can't pass it.
you know that money's gonna be great, bro. The guy has 6 fucking belts, bro.
So you can throw out all that management
Yeah,
away.
you can't pass
Okay,
up
yeah, that's true actually.
Listen,
Yeah.
like that's why I'm saying, like, I hear what you're saying, Sergio Mora. That's what you tell and you sell and you tell that narrative to Floyd Kid Austin. It's like, bro, the juice is not worth the squeeze. Shakur can make you look dumb in everything that you're working for. Yes, you're young, you're 21 years old. So why are you trying to accelerate your career? Like, relax, bro. I know you have more fights or close to having as much fights as Shakur Stevenson, but in terms of the experience gap, it's tantamount. Like, it does not benefit you at all. In this particular case, Benavidez has experience on paper and just on visual eye test against that performance that he had against Alexander Volstik. I agree. He does not look like the guy who's going to be the guy to be able to dethrone Bivol or Artur Beterbiev. But you can't walk away from 4 or 5, 6 belts, bro. Absolutely not. You want in life, you just want somebody to open up that door for you. And then
True.
it's your opportunity and it's all responsibility now becomes on you what you do with it. You get what I'm saying?
That sounds good. That's reasonable, right? The pay is going to be there.
It's more you're some, let's say Moore is 38, 42 years old himself. Let's say he was still competing. If there was an opportunity, you'd be like, hey, Canelo wants to fight you more. You're gonna walk. Oh, I'm not ready yet. How do you know?
True. Yeah.
How do you know that you're not ready until you're
Yeah.
presented there? Obviously, we have these precursory acts, right, leading up to this event where, like, nah, bro, you didn't really look good in your first debut at 175. Now he understands. Now David has an honest assessment of himself. Like, okay, I'm not the biggest guy at 175. I do have these hand speed. Maybe I'm not this power puncher that I was perceived or this Mexican monster. Now he's a little more humble. Now his approach is completely different when he fights these two dudes, right? So I don't know, bro. I just don't like. I've never liked those opportunities. I don't know, bro. I
Missed
get it.
opportunities.
I don't like looking at the managerial cap aspect. I'm just looking at it as a fighter.
Yeah.
David has the opportunity right now to cut in line above every single person. If you beat Archer Beterbiev, you know what? You're that dude now. Now you're the hunted. Maybe you get that Canelo fight.
Maybe.
Don't look at it like, oh man, I'm not good enough. Hell, bro, these are fighters.
This is what he's been asking for.
Shooters. Yeah. Come on, man. Let me get in this. Nah, yeah.
So I guess what I'm saying, okay, it's because it's again, guys, in the sport of boxing, you do, especially since we are privileged to it, we have to be able to think not only as fighters, because you guys have been fighters, you guys have to think about your guys, right? Like yourself. If you were David Benavidez, would you fight Dimitri Bivol? That's one question. The second question is, are you doing it for the money? Right? And maybe you're not ready, but the fight is there and the pay is well, and you may bet on yourself and win, right? Heck, go for it, right? And then you also have to think about your advancement in the sport, your career. And I'm not just talking about knowing the fact that you can beat this guy and you become a champion and you become a multimillionaire, right? Because just a couple of lives ago we talked about how the Mexican fighters sell their booty, right? What's the difference there? When Emmanuel Navarrete decided to move to 135 to fight Denis Beranchyk to make more money and likely to get another bigger purse opportunity against somebody like what's his name, Davis, Keyshawn Davis.
Correct.
All of it was because they were doing it for the money. So is David Benavidez supposed to just take on a fight because the money is right, but yet he may not be prepared to win? Because we're also trying to navigate a fighter's career. We want him to be a winner. You have to give your fighter the opportunity to become a winner. You just throw him into the wolves and say, here, figure it out.
But here's the thing, though. There's again, the juice has to be worth the squeeze. So in this particular case for Emmanuel Navarrete, it's like they're setting you up for you to become a 4-time division champion against somebody who has like 10 or 11 fights and is like 36 years old, Dennis Berenchenk. That's why you were a 4-1 favorite moving up. No one really knew that this dude was going to outbox you circles like that and make you look ridiculous, because my guy, like my boy Ruben Villa, wasn't able to do that. And like, how is this 36-year-old going to be able to do that? Like, Navarrete should have been able to cut off and become a 4-divisional champion. But in that particular case, yeah, that was dumb of Emmanuel Navarrete. Like, bro, you just barely became a champ at 130, beating Oscar Valdez, and you went life and death with Liam Wilson. Unify at 130. Go fight Joe Cordina. Become unified or undisputed, or go down to 126. This dude, obviously, if you looked at him, he looked pudgy. He didn't look in shape against Ivan Berenchenk.
Yeah.
And like, what are you doing? In this particular case with David is not a champion at 168. He tried to get that fight with Canelo for all intents and purposes. It could not occur. So he went on to the next big thing, and he had to test the waters. Alexander Volstik, he's going to have another fight, which is David Morrell, which he should look better. And now he might be more fulfilled, right? He understands his limitations or lack thereof and strengths. Depending on how he passes this test, maybe he might be ready. Maybe if he destroys David Morrell in a fashion that you guys have not seen him, because David Morrell is a big dude, bro.
Yeah.
You know, he carries the weight at 175, probably a little better than David Benavidez. So,
a little more athletic.
David looks, well, I got it. Depending on how good Benavidez looks, because if I use the name David, I'm going to mix it all up. But depending on how Benavidez looks like, maybe you're like, maybe he's ready. And
okay.
Then, I don't know if Sergey Kovalev is still active, but if you can rematch Alexander Volstik for whatever, maybe a Kovalev, go after Bivol, and then Archer. And then people wouldn't say you're aging out Archer if you go after Bivol. You get what I'm saying? You're going to be like, oh no, he's moving up accordingly in terms of that. Because bro, like nah. So it just depends, man. But the juice definitely has to be worth the squeeze. Again, look at Jermell Charlo, right? Everyone gives him shit, but he became undisputed at 154. He made his legacy. It was a historical run, and he decides what? I'm gonna skip the line because that fight presented itself against Canelo Alvarez. Yeah, I might lose, but all I want is the opportunity. Fuck around, find out. 3-4 rounds. He's like, yeah, I might have bit off more than I can chew here.
So there's one last question, guys, that I want to ask, right? Is this, let's just say, because this really was the question. And I hate pondering questions. I hate really considering these types of queries because we have to be realistic. We don't even know what the outcome of Benavidez versus Morrell would be, right? So this is just a hypothetical question that I guess maybe Mannix just threw over there in the direction of Sergio Mora, and Sergio Mora was being completely honest, and it seems like you guys completely agree with Sergio Mora. Beterbiev will beat David Benavidez. Let me ask you guys now one last thing. I ask every single one of you, knock lights out, Cell, El Pachuco, the Mexican G, New Country, good evening for the user, and Dream Homie. If David Benavidez loses to Artur Beterbiev, how does he lose to him? While you guys are thinking about that, right, I just want to read a couple of things. This is what the ideations of El Pachuco are. I don't think Benavidez can beat Bivol or Beterbiev. Okay, that's a flat out agreement with all of us here that Benavidez stands no chance not only against Beterbiev. Better yet, he won't even beat Bivol, who's the loser to Beterbiev, right? The Mexican G says that he may have an opportunity now at a light heavyweight because he's working and hooked up with Memo Heredia. We know the magic of Heredia, right? His shakes. The New Country says, I agree, he should. So my question to you is this. How does David Benavidez lose to Beterbiev? Is it by UD, majority, knockout?
Knockout. He's gonna knock him out. You know,
What about you, homie? You gotta. This is where I'm about to draw the conclusion, right? What? How does he lose?
Yeah, man. I think they all knock him out, bro.
Okay. All right. So what you're saying is
who's
it's
all?
worth the squeeze, right? We know. Listen. Let me just remind you. This report in boxing scene reminds us that for the first half of the Bostek versus Benavides fight, Benavides looked very sharp and effective during the first half of the bout, but then he started to, falter and lack in his output. He looked like he was getting tired, and he failed in all of the rounds to seriously hurt Bostek. Okay, this was his very first outing, by the way. But we've always said about David Benavides is that he's always been big for super middleweight, right? Okay, he won, right, in a very close fight. We all think that he loses to not only Beterbiev, but even to Bivol, who lost to Beterbiev. And you guys say that he would lose by knockout. So if you're a manager, are you selling out your fighter for the biggest buck?
If
Say
you're
it
the
again.
manager, you have to weigh everything. It's not in this particular case. It's not selling out David because if you're already in the mindset that we have to age out Archer, then it's letting everybody know that you're not ready for him.
Mhm.
So hold on, bro. Listen. We've already talked about this. I don't know how much more clear that we can be. It's not selling out your fighter if you're presenting him with the most significant purse, significant moment of history, and if you were to be victorious, and knowing that you have experience in that particular weight class. So if we're looking at this right now, Sam Lukowicz, right? That's the manager, I don't know, slash promoter of David Benavides. He already gave him a taste of waters against Alexander Vostik. Now he's putting him up against a young gun that's probably going to fire and open up more in David Morrell. You've already honored your part in terms of getting David the experience needed. You have an ex-champion that the only guy who's been able to knock him out is Archer Betterby. You weren't able to do that. So we already know from just, comparing certain fighters, you're not strong or as strong or stronger than Archer because Alexander Vostik really looked unblemished, unscathed. I don't even know there's a red marking in his body, right? If you're looking at this footage in the 10th round, right, a minute and 40 seconds left. Let me see if I can. Oleg it doesn't even look like he's sweating profusely. You get what I'm saying? Whereas David, you see a little bit of swelling, inflammation, and redness on his face. You get what I'm saying? And look, have we ever seen David get pushed back up against the ropes?
Nope.
Alexander Vostik was the only one able to do that. So when you
Mhm.
really look at it, Sam Lukowicz, everybody understands the situation here. Okay, David is not ready. So how do we get him ready? Well, he needs more experience and time to fill out his body at 175. So we put him up against David Morrell. We wait to see who the winner is between Archer, Vos, and Bivol. Depending on how that goes, maybe we rematch Alexander Vostik, then Bivol, then Archer. Hell, maybe Canelo moves up and wants to fight us. Who knows?
Dude, I'm
There's
hearing,
changing hand, and maybe rematch Caleb Plant at 175.
dude, I'm
But
hearing Canelo. Yeah,
that's the selling point. So again, in this particular case, it wouldn't be selling out David because you want to be able to sell out your fighter and give him the biggest opportunity to become a champion, let alone an undisputed one, to cut in line knowing that you might not be the goods. Hell yeah.
Mhm.
I don't
bro,
know.
I'm hearing,
Would be selling them out, man.
What are you hearing, Dream?
Canelo's tempted to fight Beterbiev, and then Beterbiev might be tempted enough to take that fight if the money's right. So I'm like, dude, I don't want that fight. Like honestly, that I think I'm playing Canelo protection program a little bit.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. So it's just Beterbiev is just that good, bro. Uh he knocks out everybody but Bivol, obviously. He might just knock him out in the rematch. But yeah, man, we'll see. That's a good fight. I keep saying that, but 1 month away, I guess. Yeah. Hey, you want to talk about the undercard of that fight, or you're just or Morel more than anything?
Nah, I mean, no, it's a good undercard. I think this fight is between David Benavidez and David Morrell is happening on the 24th, 28th of February. You have Pitbull Cruz versus Angel Fierro, and you also have it's a pretty nice card, man. Jesus Ramos fighting Bohachuk. No, I don't think it's Bohachuk. Who's he fighting? Jesus Ramos, the guy that should have gotten the victory over Erickson Lubin.
He's fighting his uncle Abel. No, I'm just kidding.
Nah.
Imagine.
He's fighting. Oh man, he's fighting Banana Jason Rosario.
Mm.
Whatever. I guess I would rather see. Look. Actually, there's the rumor mill is that Jamal and Jamel are trying to make a comeback, bro.
Nice.
Right? And Jamel has intentions of going back down to 154 and fighting these fighters again. What do you guys
That's
think?
crazy.
That's Carlos and stuff. Look, man, I'm a big fan of my people from Texas. I'm a big fan of Errol Spence, regardless if he got his ass beat by Bud Crawford, which was, that was shocking, man. It's one of the most shockingest performances I've ever seen in terms of manhandling of another undefeated unified champion. I've never seen anything like that. And I'm also a big fan of the Charlos. Now, of course, they're not without fault or blemish. Like, these guys have their flaws, but overall, they have really great entertainment value. All of those fighters from Texas have been very entertaining. They might not be like Sugar Ray Leonard or Marvelous Hagler. They're maybe not that great, but they're always entertaining. Bro, I can't wait to see them fight. You guys feel the same way, or you guys are like done with them? Like, nah.
Done with who? Sorry.
The Charlos.
I ain't done with them.
Yeah.
Why would I be done with them?
I'm always gonna be tempted to like watch them, bro. Like especially a comeback is just like I don't know. I gotta see like how they promote a fight. Like at this point, I'm a fan of how they promote fights, and they, I don't know. I like it's just at this point, it's not gonna be the same product as back in the day, bro. Like that's just what it is. Not unless Jermell. Obviously we have more confidence in Jermell than we do have Jamal, but Jermell, if he can come back to some type of his, like a little bit of what he used to be in the past, then I think he's still a fucking threat, bro.
Yeah.
But it's just age maybe has gotten to him. I don't know his age exactly, but I do know it's up there, bro. He's in his mid 30s or somewhere
Like
around
36.
there. Yeah, so man, honestly, yeah, he can probably beat some of the, like I don't know if he can beat a Vergil, but that would be a great fight.
Well,
You don't know if he can beat up Vergil.
Both of the guys are gonna need a tune-up. I would
Right.
hate to see Jermell go straight into like a Sebastian Fundora fight. I think something like I don't know. I wouldn't even want to see Tim Tszyu versus Jermell Charlo just yet. That would be a good one. But something like get back in there with Keith Thurman. In fact, I would like Keith Thurman versus Tim Tszyu. And then
Keith Thurman is removed from the sport like almost 4 years, bro.
Yeah.
But he was teasing of a comeback versus Tim Tszyu last year.
I know.
He don't care. He's
then
teasing the hair wig.
But then his body broke down. His body just couldn't maintain, bro, until weigh-ins, bro. Like he just.
You guys wouldn't want to see Keith Thurman versus Errol Spence right now.
If he's healthy. If he's healthy.
They're both not healthy, man.
Okay, then no.
That fight right there would remind me sort of like when Victor Ortiz fought Robert Guerrero, right? Didn't Victor Ortiz fight Robert Guerrero like a year ago?
Yeah.
They're older. They're good names. We know that they provided this very
different. That was different though. That they were removed like close to 10.
Yeah, long time.
Yeah, that was different. That was almost an exhibition match.
So hold on, let me throw out some names. You guys wouldn't want to see these fights. Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder.
Yup.
So what's wrong with Errol Spence versus Keith Thurman? What's wrong?
There ain't nothing wrong. There ain't nothing wrong. I'm just saying
is that me? I don't want both of those fights
at their peak no more. There should have happened. That's one of the biggest things about boxing is, ducking or aging certain fighters out, right? Because we could have seen Keith Thurman versus Errol Spence. We could have seen Deontay Wilder versus Joshua for an undisputed, but we didn't get these fights. Where they're at now in their careers, would you guys entertain this stuff, or it's like, nah, onto the new game?
The the AJ Wilder one, I wouldn't. I don't want anymore. They gotta build their way back up. Honestly, I might just be hating though. Honestly, I just don't see nothing in that, bro. Keith Thurman needs to tune up again. 4 years is just too much. I think my magic number, or like not magic number, but my deadline is 2 years. If you've been removed for more than 2 years, then you shouldn't be in title contention, or you shouldn't be in title contention, but you should be able to like build your way back into it. But at 4-5 years, you shouldn't even be fighting, like maybe undercards. And if you're willing to be like a prelim fighter, but I mean, you got to work your way back into it, man. So damn, Damian got hit pretty good right there. But
where? Let me see.
I was like, wow. But he got
yeah,
back.
so that guy right there. So this is that fight. That fight right there.
If Pachuco goes Wilder versus Joshua, not really.
Yeah.
Spence versus Thurman, not really.
Same.
And G goes, Keith Thurman, he needs to retire. Damn, man, I guess I'm still stuck in living in the past. I gotta move on. Yeah, no, look, I hear what you guys are saying.
Move on.
I would think, these are no longer main event fighters, and hell, they better not be giving us on pay-per-view. These are just regular little fights, regular fights that are still relatively big. And even though we didn't get them when they were at their peak, and they literally, like, as you've seen their years and the projections where they're at then versus now, yeah, dude, they wasted huge paydays. They wasted opportunity of making history. So yeah, you guys are correct. New Country goes, a lot of people think Morrell is going to lose. I think if he wins, it comes early. Sometime in the first half of the fight, the second half, Benavidez wears him down and takes over. And then they're going back and forth. I don't know if you guys have been reading a lot of the comments.
Oh.
So I read that one. Then they were talking about David Benavidez and Caleb Plant. And basically, I forget who says, but Benavidez, they're saying, the Mexican G, that Benavidez had a better performance with Caleb Plant. I'm going to paraphrase. He justifies it because Caleb Plant held on for dear life, and he was actually fighting against Canelo. So that's what allowed Canelo to have the knockout. Country goes, but, bro, Canelo knocked out Plant, whereas David didn't. And the way I look at it is like this, right? They took points away from Karen Chuktian. I don't know his last name. The guy that fought, it's complicated. So Mr. Karen, when he fought Jaron Boots Ennis, they took away points from him because he was hurt and he was holding on for dear life. When you hold for a series of reasons. Maybe you got to reset your feet. You're in a bad positioning. Maybe you got hit with a punch that you need to reset all over again. In this particular case, Karen was hurt excessively, and Jaron Boots Ennis was landing combinations with speed and power that he couldn't block every single thing. Maybe the ref, maybe it was Doc, he took away points from Karen and warned him excessively. Let's say that he was reffing the same Caleb Plant, David Benavidez. Caleb Plant was holding so much against David Benavidez that you don't really allow for David to work. Now, a lot of people can be like, well, after 20, 30, 40 fights, you should be able to know how to fight off a clinch. True. You should. You can pivot underneath. You can do a swim move. You can get dirty. What Canelo does is he picks you up and he goes, like he did to Erislandy Lara and Bivol. There's opportunities. You can fight with the free hand. You can rabbit punch. There's things that you can do. But for quote unquote being a gentleman's sport, inside fighting is it's a tough trait. There's only been a few select fighters like Robert Manos de Piedra Duran that have actually mastered it. I don't think David has quite mastered that, nastiness. You see it with Lomachenko, right? That he's now like much more always fighting with one free hand, gets a little angle. David possibly could have done it. You can see the frustration. So yeah, he should have a different level of urgency because Canelo landed some punches when Caleb was trying to clinch, and he was able to hurt him and land some body punches and some uppercuts. So yeah, there's things that David Benavidez needed to implement in that particular case where he can score the knockout. But if you really just look at the damage, right? David reconstructed Caleb Plante's face. Like, dude, there was a profuse amount of blood just dripping down. If I remember correctly, it was just bad. It was just like, damn, bro, like he made you look like that girl from Futurama. You have a third eye in your forehead. Like, bro, you're just like discombobulated, you know, like it's just nasty rearranged, just like disfigured. And, you know, when I saw the fight against Canelo Alvarez, yeah, you landed some beautiful punches that made him do the chicken walk from one corner to the other. And he was like, I'm done. Like he's tapped out. So that was equally as impressive, right? But I was impressed just by the severe punishment of the impact of punches. You know, death by a million blows, death by a billion cuts of just, I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to hurt you. And that's what it is. Caleb Plant versus Canelo was competitive. Caleb Plant versus David Benavidez, from just a physical standpoint and just some dude that actually can hit hard, man. And I think Caleb Plant is a much bigger puncher, like, you know, single-handedly blow, because he slept Anthony Durrell. David couldn't. So that lets me know, like, damn, bro, with those, that's why David has to be honest with himself and just be like, hand speed combinations. That's how you beat these dudes. Until that power comes, if you're ever going to have 175 power. Country goes, it is pronounced Chukatsian, but not spelled that way. Chukatsian. Like Pachuca goes, the homie Ricky is showing the future boxing talent fights is what makes this boxing podcast special. Saludos. Yeah, I appreciate you guys, man. I'm going to try to be out there more in the amateur circuits as well, recording more fights.
We should go. We should go to a regional tournament, bro, and get some footage, you know?
But
maybe
here's the thing. A lot of the time when we get this access to videos is because it's within our region and we kind of know more or less these gyms or trainers, or we kind of see more familiar faces. When you go to like those Golden Glove tournaments, they don't really allow cameras in there. Like you really need approval and waivers because you're not technically supposed to.
Really?
I sometimes. That's why you don't really see a lot of them. And then they also have their own film crew. You know, that's why they get televised on certain apps or NBC when you're talking about high. But I don't really know. I would have to ask.
Yeah.
Just kind of see where those things. But yeah, I definitely want to get a little more. There's a couple more amateurs that I'm really interested in just following. But I don't know if I would travel like out of state to, you know, just more in our area that catches our eye. But yeah, man, I always try to put up more amateur content. There's more amateur fights that I have, and there's amateur sparring sessions that I have as well. Some of these get down and nasty. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to really be exposing certain fighters out here like that.
Yeah, there's a web, not a website. I'm sorry, there an IG page called Parallels, and they do nothing but amateurs, and they actually go out to all the because there's obviously, for you guys that don't know, amateur circuit, it's the way they do Golden Gloves is it doesn't necessarily go by state, but if the state's big enough, you'll have your own state Golden Gloves, but then the winner of those meet up at the national Golden Gloves, and that's pretty much the best of the best right there. And I know they go out there and they get random footage, bro, and I don't know how they get it though. So maybe that's a good question. We got to ask and see, you know, if it's doable, you know, because I'll be down to do that. And my uncle goes to all the regional tournaments. He's got this little kid, 108 pounder, and he's like, I think he's like he's one of the best like 108 pounders in the country, bro. His name's Bodie, but he's a beast, bro. He's a little guy, but he's grown so much, bro. Like, man, I took a body shot from him like on one of my cousin's birthday party, but took a solid body shot from him. I was like, dude, he punches hard. So 108 pounder, his name's Bodie. I'll give you guys more info later, but he's
108 pounder. Had you hurting, bro?
Huh? Dude, he's smart, bro. So he knows where to punch. He went to the suplex. You know,
wow.
He didn't just.
No.
He was, you know. What happened?
I don't know, man.
No, dude, this kid punches hard, bro, and he's a big, like, you know, big ass kid. So yeah, dude. But yeah, dude, I know they go out there. They're called parallels on IG, and they update pretty much me on like the best talent. Like, I've been watching like some of the amateur circuits, but I kind of stopped as of the past couple months. But I remember when I knew a guy that was fighting in the light heavyweight division, and that's how I kind of got introduced to the amateur game. And I seen just pretty much all the talent coming up, including Jordan Fuentes, Steven Navarro, and all these guys. So yeah, but yeah, man, it's it's a cool little thing to get into. Is just you might be right. You might just need like you know some permission to do that.
Yeah. And guys, I know that you're gonna go take like a quick shower or something like that. Dream, is
Yeah, I'll
that
be right
what you
back.
said? Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Homie, I wanted to ask you, right? This is about one of the more recent going-ons with one of our very, very interesting fighters, to say the least, right? This is, of course, Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo Lopez has been in the news for a few months now, but quite recently he's been in the news for a couple of things. One, his uh, upcoming fight, his possible upcoming fight with the islands, Subriel Matias, Puerto Rico's Subriel Matias, and of course what was just relayed today, right? That apparently Teofimo Lopez has demanded Top Rank to quote unquote let him go. He apparently went to Twitter or on X, and he says, "Hey, at TR Boxing, what's my buyout? Just a question. Also, I'd respect if you replied here and not around the corner. Thank you and have a blessed first Sunday of the year. Boxing hashtags at Teofimo Lopez on X." Now, Teofimo Lopez has apparently made it public, going on X, that he would like to know the buyout price for his contract. But yet, if you had followed the news most recently, you would have already been aware that it seems that his contract would be up anytime soon, anyways. When Mr. Bob Barron made some recent statements regarding a possible Subriel Matias versus Teofimo Lopez fight on pay-per-view, an event that he is very reluctant to put on pay-per-view because he says that it wouldn't sell because it's just not noteworthy. It's just not bringing in that kind of a fan base. There's not that kind of natural born grassroots interest in having Subriel Matias and Teofimo Lopez fight. Now, when you think about a fighter like Teofimo Lopez, talking about Top Rank and Mr. Bob Arum like that, knowing what we know about him, right? He's a firebrand. He's always instigating stuff. He's always saying that the black African American fighters get paid much better than him for less worthwhile fights, that people support those type of fighters instead of supporting the fighters that are taking risks. That's the reason why he wants to fight somebody like Terrence Bud Crawford, how he wants to fight somebody like Boots Ennis. When you think about that, what is the likelihood that Mr. Bob Barron would let him go prematurely, and what can he do as a free agent?
Oh man, so just a little recap. I'm a huge fan of Teofimo Lopez, guys.
Mhm.
I met him in person when he was like 7-0. Kid was he I think at the time he had injured his hand. I think this might have been before the Richard Comey fight or maybe right after. So I'm a big fan of Teofimo Lopez, man. Great guy. When you talk with him, man, you think he's like a childhood friend that you've had since elementary school, and you just, it's like, bro, how you been? And the conversation wanes for 2 hours, and his father was right there, and he's just like, man, who the fuck are these guys talking to my son? But anyway, I have a lot of respect. I have a lot of
That sounded just like him too.
Yeah, man, I have a lot of respect for Teofimo Jr. I love the way he fought against Lomachenko. I love his performance against Josh Taylor. I mean, and he takes on very difficult styles. How Canelo was taking on at 154. Erislandy Lara, Austin Trout, Floyd Mayweather, and the list goes on, right? He's fighting guys like Sander Martin, Jermaine Ortiz. These are very complicated styles, right? And he continues to fight those fighters. Salute to him. When he fights guys that are proven and possible and maybe Hall of Famers like Josh Taylor and Lomachenko, he passes the test. And you ask yourself, Tio should be undisputed, right? And those particular things. Josh Taylor being stripped after the Jack Catterall fight, okay, sure. But he was still ring lineal, officially. But he should have defended and had all that glory. Devin Haney, the whole franchise belt. We all get the point. We all know this argument. But Teofimo, man, when it comes down to, and it's just this youth, this generation coming up with cell phones and social medias, they think they know how to control it. They think that exposing certain things out into the public, certain conversation out into the public, is a great thing. They look at it like any publicity is good publicity, right? As long as they're being circulated and talked about. Well, to the point where it's very disingenuous how these guys go about their business. It's like they have a social media personality, a fighter personality. They have like that multi-personality disorder syndrome. You know what I mean? And it's just like, bro, you guys have to relax. And that's when it comes down to Ryan Garcia and Teofimo Lopez and a lot of these guys that think that they can control social media, even if they're just trying to build up a fight, it just seems very fake. And even that post, yo, Top Rank, what's my buyout? Tell it here so the whole world can do it. Bro, these are conversations that if you're very smart, that you know that happen behind closed doors. And if you really want to be, and you want to be like, I don't know, like you want to expose certain documents, you can take a little tape recorder and you can record the conversation and then leak it out to the public. If you really
What would be the difference?
If you leak it and you have your own, deep throat agent like Woodward and Bernstein had, right? The CIA informant when they leaked that whole Watergate scandal in the Washington Post. If you do have that source, maybe Marcos from Fight Hype or Fight Hub, people are going to know, oh, there was only 5 people in that room. It must have been the father or the son that leaked that conversation in terms of what our buyout is, or maybe you can buy it out because there's a key man clause situation and we own your ass. Who knows? You get what I'm saying? But if you do that, then you're going to definitely be blackballed. So it's a lot of these guys, they don't really understand. Just be professional about it. And nowadays, a lot of these fighters think that they're educated because the internet or YouTube teaches them, that they forget just professionalism and being formal. You get what I'm saying? That, I don't know, man. It's just very strange. So I know I kind of deviated. I'm all over the place a little bit. So with Teofimo,
Yeah, you did. But I guess what I'm saying is, what is the likelihood that they'll let him go? Apparently, Mr. Bob Arum admitted himself that his contract was soon up, anyways. So it would probably just spare him maybe a fight or two at most. What would be the likelihood that he would be allowed to go? I think Mr. Bob Arum would let him go, right? I really do think that. But what can Teofimo Lopez do as a free agent? That's really the question, right? Because we know that Devin the Dream Haney has been maneuvering. Devin the Dream Haney has been maneuvering as a free agent for many years. In fact, he's never shown any kind of loyalty to any organization for the majority of his professional career, right? So, and look where we have in him. Yes, we do have a fighter that's been able to maneuver the sport politically well. I mean, he was able to become a champion on a vacancy that Lomachenko decided to forfeit a belt for this short-lived nomenclature as the, what was it, the franchise WBC, right? And that's how he ended up getting that belt right there. And then he ends up taking that fight, waiting for Teofimo Lopez and Lomachenko to run it, then waiting for Teofimo Lopez to get the belt, run against Georgie Kambosos, and then all of a sudden he unifies that belt against the Black Sheep and the Australian Georgie, and he becomes undisputed. We know that as far as a free agent, he's been able to maneuver politically and savvy in order to become a recognized, undisputed fighter, taking on the least the least accomplished, least resistance fighters, and George Cambosos.
Whoa, hold on. You're talking about Teofimo Lopez, bro? That guy had
No, I'm talking about the likelihood that Teofimo Lopez can move as a free agent as successfully as Devin Haney has. Devin Haney has been very successful as a free agent, but the one thing he's never been able to do, homie Ricky, yes, he's had multi-million-dollar fights, but he's never been a standout superstar. He's never been a massive pay-per-view fighter. So, what are the likelihoods that Teofimo Lopez can have a success tantamount and equivalent to Devin Haney's or even better?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, man, Teofimo can do a lot of great things as a free agent. If he signs with Golden Boy, he can do great things. If he signs with Eddie Hearn, he has access to a lot of fighters. Leon Paro, Richard Hitchinson, or Hitchens, maybe rematch with George Cambosis, free agent Devin Haney. Hell, maybe even a fight with Ryan Garcia, and that can be a 5 versus 5. No, Teofimo as a free agent, it would be great. The thing is, it's like the numbers, he tried to do free agency. Let's talk about that first. He tried to do free agency. He basically went to purse bid. He had Triller and all of these companies paid an extreme amount of money that the fight wasn't worth. And look what happened. It costed him basically his health. The guy had something with air in his lungs. He got punched by the mountain from Game of Thrones. Probably has something to do with it. That's a freaking 300-pound man with nothing but muscle. Boom! Hitting you right in the lungs and the solar plexus. Then fought George Cambosis after that fight got rescheduled 3-4 times from a Saturday to a Sunday to Monday. And I think they ended up fighting like on a Tuesday. So he tried free agency. So he can show that he can be quote unquote, savvy businessman because Triller overpaid for that fight when it went to purse bid. But guess what? You lost. And George Cambosis had all those titles, and on paper, he unified for an undisputed fight versus Devin Haney in Australia. You get what I'm saying? So he's tried free agency, and you can say pros and cons. It was a learning experience. I don't know how good. Look, I don't know to answer that question, because in one thing I can be like, well, Tio made money with that Triller fight, but then was the money worth the historical run that he was having and beating an obscure name and Nakatani? Then he knocked out Richard Coleman in the second round. Then he beat Lomachenko, right? Lost to Cambosis, had to rebuild. Fought, I don't know if it was Pedro Campa or one of those like Humberto fighters.
And then Sandor Martin, and then
Josh Taylor, and just like, all right, Tio, you a little bad motherfucker, bro. And then after Josh Taylor, I mean, you don't want to move and fight Jermaine Ortiz. For what? That's a step down. And that's a difficult fighter. Like, he's tricky, he's big, he's strong, he's athletic. He can be boring. Like, you don't want to go from Josh Taylor to Jermaine Ortiz. You want to go possibly from Josh Taylor and beat the fighters of yesteryear, Jose Ramirez, and knock him out. Maybe stay away from Arnold Barboza, because you don't want to go from Josh Taylor, Jose Ramirez to Arnold Barboza and Francis Barthélemy. You want to continue beating those fighters like Rodriguez, right? But that's not what he did. He went on to fight another obscure name, Steve Claggett. So you could honestly say this dude is taking these very unknown fighters with tricky ass styles. Top Rank is very hindering his career. They've done extremely well, because you would think, man, after Lomachenko, we got to do everything in our power to make sure that Teofimo stays undisputed. And then somehow George Cambosis is his mandatory. And this is where that situation goes like, nah, bro, you have to look on for bigger and better things, and maybe you should try to make a fight with Ryan Garcia. Don't sell me this narrative that, man, these are Catholic boys and Christians and, they're best friends. No, they've never been to Bible study class together. They've never been at the same church together. Fight. You guys ain't friends. You guys didn't grow up together. You get what I'm saying? So have no respect for him, Tio. In fact, you and Ryan would be a great fight. You guys are both crazy now in social media. You guys have done and said a lot of crazy shit in your guys' careers, right? On top of that, Teofimo is a clean athlete. So you can sell this fight as a clean, pure athlete, never failed a drug test, takes on the tough fights, doesn't cut corners in Teofimo Lopez. And here's Ryan Garcia drinking Coronas in the weigh-in. Cuts corners, does cheat, will cheat his own childhood rival in Devin Haney. You can sell that fight, good versus evil, right? But I don't know, man. So there's a lot of things that if the chess pieces were to move correctly, right? Being a free agent can be great for Teofimo Lopez. If they don't move correctly and he's thinking that he's playing chess when it's just a checkerboard and he really doesn't have his career panned out, it might just be another George Camboza situation. And, bro, you might have two now damaged lungs with Aaron. So I don't know, man. Teofimo is very, situation to be for me. It's perplexing, bro. Like, I don't know.
So the thing is this, right? The reason why I was asking, right, is because I think like New Country is mentioning, it seems like Teofimo Lopez may have at least one assured and promised contracted fight under the banner of Top Rank. With his report and Teofimo Lopez asking to be released prematurely and to buy out his contract, he's basically saying, "I don't want this last fight with you guys." Right? It's almost like if he's saying, "I don't want this last fight," which is a possible Subriel Matias fight, and me to be under your banner. I want to be able to take on this fight as a free agent, negotiating with Subriel Matias and whoever else that he has to on himself, betting on himself, probably putting out of pocket money to make that fight happen, or selling it to the highest bidder, maybe Eddie Hearn or anybody that may be able to co-promote or maybe fully take on the role of a promoter, right? Because it's still not etched in stone, this fight with Subriel Matias and Teofimo Lopez. So he may think that Subriel Matias and him is a potentially good, rewarding fight. And my question is, right? I think it was El Pachuco, maybe it was even Country that said, now with Subriel Matias having lost, in with the kind of fights that we know that Teofimo Lopez has had recently, where he's looked a bit flat, a bit lackluster. I think he fought Steve Claggett and looked pretty mediocre in the eyes of many. Some people had him losing that fight. I believe that is quite possible. If you put these two guys together that are coming off of very bad outings, the last fight that Subriel Matias had, he won, by the way. He fought a Mexican. I think he beat him in 4 rounds. And I think Teofimo Lopez is obviously coming off of his own hard-fought win against Steve Claggett. Does that fight have a potential to, let's say, not sell well as a pay-per-view event, but maybe pack up the stadium?
Well, it depends.
Yo, Country, my nephew actually has fought him, Johnny Haskell.
Oh, you know him, Country?
No, because he says right here, yo, Rick, looking for a kid named Johnny Haskell. He's an amateur, lower weights, but forgot what.
Yeah, that's the kid. I know, dude. That's the kid.
Like 135, 140. It was funny that you mentioned him, bro. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me tell you a story about that, Country. So
Country, here we go.
So Country, Johnny Haskell, I think his nickname is Hurricane, right? Hurricane Haskell. I'm not too sure how long he'd been training in boxing. If I'm not mistaken, by a couple of, because I've followed him on Instagram before, if I'm not mistaken, he had been training in boxing for about 3 years before he became a pro.
You don't have to.
Before he became an amateur with the record, right? Haskell had won his first fight. My son had won his first fight. Haskell had his first fight over there in San Pedro, or wherever it is that he's from, and my son had his first fight over here. Yeah, and my son had his very first fight over here in Salinas. So we traveled over there. We were on a high, having stopped our opponent, and Haskell had, if I'm not mistaken, also had stopped his opponent. So we met him over there in San Pedro, and the weather over there in San Pedro is much hotter than it is in Salinas. And the gym, the Benjamin gym, is much smaller than we have over here in Salinas. And to top it off, my son made a very crucial mistake, right? The fight was set up to be between 128 to 132. My son had been fighting as low as 125, right, for his very first fight. I think he met the kid. The kid walked in at 125. My son walked in just a little shy of 127. So my son was actually having to go up, which is no big deal, just a few pounds variation, right? But my son did something that he should never have done. The night before the fight, because he's been watching a couple of videos on Instagram and YouTube on how to lose weight, he goes to the sauna. I was paying for gym membership for my son. He was going up to 3 gyms at once. And he goes into, I think it was In Shape in Salinas, and he goes into the sauna. And when I find out, I'm like, why did he do that? Well, he wanted to lose and shed an extra pound or so, right?
Oh, stop it. Every fighter.
He walks he walks in into San Pedro. He cannot pass the vitals. My son's blood pressure is at 189 over 110. The nurses, the paramedics are like, I don't know. How do you feel? This is incredible. You're not supposed to have it like this. I don't know what's going on. The doctor is taking his vitals. He's like, your blood pressure is sky high. How do you feel? Checking his heart. Your heart rate is high. How do you feel? No, well, my head hurts. The nape of my neck hurts. And he's telling him that. And he's like, drink this water. Take deep breaths and everything. And the lowest they're able to bring my son's blood pressure was 157 over like 100, right? If you know anything about blood pressure, it makes you feel very lightheaded, very drowsy if you're running your blood pressure high. Now, some people say, and there are some studies that indicate that athletes can run their pressure high and it won't necessarily affect their performance. But under the circumstances, my son was telling me, I kept saying, because we were driving over there and they were already over there because they have to show up like around 8 o'clock in the morning. We were driving for Salinas and he was telling me, Dad, I don't know if they're going to let me fight. My blood pressure is like nearly 200. And I'm like, bro, you can't fight. You can't fight. You're not going to think right. You're going to be lightheaded and you're going to be chinny. And sure enough, my son goes in there. They're able to convince him to take on the fight because we traveled, right? We traveled 2.5 hours over there and we're already there. But I'm really concerned about my son's health at this moment, right? Nonetheless, we don't tell the coach. He doesn't tell his coach. He goes and fights, and what happens? Haskell. And
Haskell
the only time it's ever happened, Hurricane Haskell.
Hurricane.
My son goes in there, throws this punch that he should never have thrown, right? Why? Because he's lightheaded. He just wants to get this blood pressure out of his head. His head is throbbing. His head feels heavy. The nape of his neck and the upper back is bothering him.
Dude.
He throws this punch, and what happens? Hurricane Haskell clips him, makes my son fly, lands on his behind, and my son immediately gets up. Right? It's a flash knockdown. He gets up, and he gets up right back up. Right, and the guy goes over there, and my son just gets a 10 count, right? An 8 count or whatever. My son gets up. The guy starts walking up to him. My son doesn't even put his hands up. And the guy throws a 1-2, and then it's another standing 8. Because my son, he's not thinking right. Your blood pressure is sky high. And my son can't even keep his hands up. So the only way to survive is to start throwing jabs and start circling around.
Actually,
Long story short, he won. Hurricane Haskell wins that fight, and will never do that again. Going to a sauna.
You're recounting different events that actually occurred in the fight. So in the first round, he does throw 4. He's off balance. He's losing his feet, and Haskell takes a step back and he kind of chin checks him. Now it was a flash knockdown, but
That's what I meant. That's what I meant.
And you know, he drops. He gets up, and then the first round becomes a little competitive. But you remember the whole round, Haskell dropped him already.
Yeah.
Second round, you know, my nephew, your son, has to get it back. Second round is close and competitive, and then the third round, he gets 2 standing counts, bro. And then
2.
Yeah, I think it's the third round. He gets hit. Like, I don't know why you wanted to tell this story. You should have just, I was just gonna be like, hey, we actually fought him, but you were like, oh, let me tell this account because here is not my life. But anyway, good job for burying your kid.
Hey,
But
hey,
It's just facts about the sport.
hold on.
What do you want me to
It's all
start
right.
capping and lying or what?
Let me tell Country something.
Hold on, you guys have good stories. So then in the third round, he gets hit again, and the ref counts it another like 1, 2, 3. And your son now is kind of like disappointed. He's like, fuck. That he doesn't even cover himself. The guy goes on, and Haskell hits him again. Boom!
Yeah.
And then there's another count, and you're like, bro, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
But it wasn't like, so bro, you just like you could have just kept that to yourself, but since you
Hey, Dream. So I tell him the guy gets dropped once and gets a standing 8, and this guy is telling me about making my son look bad. He's telling him he got stopped. He got counted on 4 times. What is wrong with you, bro? You're ridiculous. But anyways, Hurricane Haskell he is very good. Right, that was a very good fight, and we always wanted to run it again. We kept saying we were going to run it again. We just never crossed paths.
Country. Put what gym are you talking about in San Francisco? Because let me tell you how small this game is. Like this boxing world is like my uncle runs a boxing gym up north in Antioch, and it's called Double Trouble Boxing Gym. We happen to see him there. I'm going up with these guys. And my uncle's like, oh, yeah, I'm coaching like a couple of guys up there. And that's how small this game is. But then that dude you're talking about right there, that SF Ring of Fire, like that one, I know who runs that. What's it called? That's their good friend, I believe. Mario or something like that. But because I know Mario too, like personally. Okay, Jimmy Ford. I've heard of Jimmy Ford. That's my uncle's friend. Like he's always like at his gym. But yeah, they're called Double Trouble Boxing Gym Country. And yeah, that's how small this game is. I know for a fact these guys probably like met each other once or twice or something, but not like they know each other really well. I'm just saying like this boxing game is small. It's really small. So like I met my uncle through marriage, and he was like, man, I got sparring out there. Is it cool if I stay the night? And he used to stay the night at my house, and he used to go and spar at Max Garcia's gym, and he was like, oh, where'd you stay at last night? He goes, oh, I have family that stays out here, and it's just crazy. Like how he just knew, like, we met him through marriage, and it's just, we got connected through that, but that's how I was able to access the Garcia's boxing gym, and I was able to see a young Ruben Villa, like a 12-year-old Ruben Villa, spar my uncles, and also Eloy. I seen Eloy Perez up and close spar like Mike Dallas and my uncle as well. My uncle's a twin, so whenever I say uncle, I can refer to either or. But yeah, dude. So that it's a small game, huh, guys? Like this boxing world, it's small.
Yeah, especially in this area. I mean, we're not too far away. We're a couple hours away, but it's not like 10 or 12 for a different state. So once you're in the California circuit, you're fighting, or about this people from here and here. You go to certain events here and there, and then there's word spreads around very fast, especially with boxing. If you really look at the numbers, there's probably, let's say, 10,000 amateurs competing in the United States, maybe more. There's not a lot of talent pool. You know what I mean? If you really look at the weight class, if you go to boxing scene and you type in Teofimo Lopez, right, and then you would see what the rankings are. Hold on, actually, let me do it. Teofimo Lopez box rec, and when you click on his account, it's gonna make me log in, or I just logged out. But you can probably see that there's only 3,500 athletes competing at that lightweight division. That's not a lot from a professional scale. So when you start minimizing it to the amateurs, the talent pool gets smaller and smaller. So when you start winning these competitions, like for example, how many American heavyweights are out there right now that you're really looking out for?
Not a lot.
Richard Torres, Jared Anderson, 2.
And they probably knew each other from way back.
Exactly. So how many heavyweights are out there right now in the amateur circuit that people are really looking out for? Like, oh man, This is
Dude.
the Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez. You would be able to instantaneously find out who that person is, you know? So
Or when we're talking to fucking Tio, and he was saying, "Oh yeah, I know Ruben," you know, and he was pretty, yeah. So I was
yeah,
like, "Damn, this boxing game's small."
these people know each other, especially when you get flown into the Colorado Springs location where the Olympic Center is at. Yeah, you're gonna find out, you're gonna compete, and you're gonna know these guys. You know, especially guys like that have over 100 or 200 amateur fights, like Ruben Villa, that has victories over Devin Shakur and Gary Russells. Then you're like, damn, okay, this kid's he's nice with it. And then you ask yourself, how the f- does Navarrete kick your ass? But yeah, no, man, it's really, but yeah,
Oh.
Speed, you should have kept that story to yourself, man. We don't,
Me?
man. We don't.
Yeah, you
What
guys
story?
are crazy. We don't cap here. We don't hide anything. Whenever we can, we're gonna be forthcoming. And in fact, if you
Yeah, I'm not
didn't want to
capping about nothing.
showcase anything, yeah, exactly. If you didn't want to showcase any secrets, why would we be posting any of my son's fights out there, right? So we're not. We
Ooh.
don't only post
Don't.
fights that are winners. We post all the fights, even whether he loses. So in fact, I have about 4 or 5 different fights, guys, that I really have to post. It's just that I have to go through the archives, edit them, and make them a little cinematic for you guys. Because I don't just like to post, clips together and they say, "Here you go." I like to give it some kind of, production feel to it. I just haven't
Yeah,
had an opportunity, but yeah, no, Haskell is a great fighter. He's
he's
a very
strong.
good individual. I respect the kid.
Yeah, he's strong in the athletic country, so
Yeah,
he's
Rick. Hey,
pretty good, man.
you've met my uncles too, so like I don't. So it's like you can be like, "Hey man, what's up, guys?" Nah, just kidding. If they're listening live.
Yeah, nah, they're pretty cool.
Yeah, look, man, we talked a lot about a lot of stuff. We kind of deviated just from keeping this video short, you know. Eddie Hearn, Oscar De La Hoya, they're best friends now. Possibly a 5 versus 5, or maybe the 5 versus 5 doesn't occur all in one night because these fights are happening already, right? You have Arnold Barboza versus Jack Catterall, Madrimov versus Vergil Ortiz, Shakur Stevenson versus Kid Schofield. All you really need is 2 more fights, and essentially the 5 versus 5 is already happening. But there's supposed to be a night for it. Golden Boy Stable versus Matchroom Stable. And it should be very interesting. Do you guys have any closing words? Because I'm about to wrap it up.
Yeah, yeah,
Nah,
yeah. I
man.
have a couple of closing words.
Hold on, mine's the shortest though. I know yours is longer. You
Go
know.
for it.
Bye. No, I'm just kidding. Nah, hey man, it's been a privilege to be on this podcast, man. No, I'm just kidding. All right, man. I'll let you guys go. Peace.
Okay. Well, first off, let's get to brass tacks, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, why do we do this show? Right? Because of the sport of boxing. So I would be remiss if I did not close out this show by reminding you that just a couple of hours from now, in fact, just give it 1 more hour from now, an hour and 3 minutes to be exact, you can watch the undercard preliminary fights between Jay Opataya and his opponent David Naika. Right, David Naika and Jay Opataya are gonna be fighting for the IBF Ring Cruisership World Title, guys. IBF and the Ring, right? All you have to do is hop on the zone midnight in the Pacific, 2 o'clock in the morning in Central Time, and 3 in the morning Eastern, and you'll be able to watch Jay Opataya and David, the big old muscle man, looks like a wrestler, Naika, going over there toe to toe, and it seems like it's going to be a very potentially good fight, maybe even short lived. If it becomes a brawl, anything can happen. We are talking about a great fighter in Jay Opataya, who many people think would be the only guy to beat somebody that likes of Alexander Usyk, if Usyk ever keeps his word and decides to come back down to cruiserweight, or as we already know, Jay Opataya looked very strung out and quite wiry when he made the weight yesterday. And the weigh-in between him and Naika, right? He looked like he had been struggling, guys, and you could tell a lot of the emaciation of these fighters from the demeanor in their face. If they look sunken-eyed, that usually means that they had a very tough weight cut. And that's what Jay Opataya looked like. So he may just start going up to heavyweight. Jay Opataya can beat Alexander Usyk at cruiserweight, or can beat Alexander Usyk at heavyweight one of these days. If you are to believe a lot of people, right? That Jay Pataya has what it takes to beat Alexander Usyk. I'm not too sure about that, but I do know that he fights in a couple of hours. So you have to do is hop in into the zone and enjoy. Before I close it up, I just want to give a 10 count for a legendary boxing trainer out of Fort Worth, Texas, Paul Reyes. Paul Reyes, he was a trainer for great Texan fighter Paulie Ayala. And not only that, he was also the trainer for Donald Curry, fighters from the 80s and the 90s, guys. 80s, if I'm not mistaken, Donald Curry was fighting in the 80s. Paulie Ayala was fighting in the 90s. I remember having seen those guys. Their trainer passed away as of today. And if you don't know this right now, the Curry family is actually reaching out to the boxing world. They reached out to Mr. Mauricio Suleiman from the WBC and asked him for some help. Their family member, Donald Curry, a great fighter in his era, he has a condition called TES, right? TES, a very debilitating condition of the mind that is very similar to CTE. It is, if I'm not mistaken, caused by cerebral harm, and it leads to erratic behavior. And apparently, he's been kicked out of many nursing homes, rehabilitation places, and things of that sort because of the fact that he cannot comport himself. He cannot control his emotions. He becomes quite violent and aggressive. And traumatic encephalopathy syndrome (TES) is a progressive neurodegenerative disease that can result from repeated head trauma, such as from sports or military service. TES is different from post-concussion syndrome, moderate or severe traumatic brain injury (TBI), or the acute or post-acute effects of a single concussion. In other words, it damages the neurological system. It progressively gets worse over time. And in the case of Donald Curry, it's made him a very belligerent, very aggressive individual that has made it very hard for people to be around. They're asking for the help of the boxing world to find him a good therapist, a good rehabilitation home that is patient and caring and understanding of our fighters. If you know anybody that can help, I encourage you to reach out to Mr. Mauricio Suleiman at the WBC or to the Donald Curry family themselves. They're everywhere on Instagram, on X. They're needing help. But he is suffering, and also the the family of his trainer, Paul Reyes. Reach out to the Reyes, thank them for their contributions for great sports, and wish one gentleman a good place in heaven, and the other one a good place here on earth. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I will give the 10 count. That was like 20. I don't know. It's a wind chime, guys. What do you want me to do? I can't control it. It's not a bell. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, it's been fun. I do wish you do well. I hope you are well of health and sane of mind. For the homie Ricky, Dream 123, and of course, your interlocutor and fellow space traveler, Warp Speed, engage.